Welcome, everybody. Today is Saturday. It's February 27th. I'm Frosty, and this is MogTalk. If this is your first time joining us, MogTalk is a show where we discuss a variety of topics involving Final Fantasy XIV in hopes to keep you more informed and help make you a better player. Whether you're a Sproutling or, farming savage, today we will be discussing a topic that is really affecting everybody right now, which of course is the recent patch 3.2, the Gears of Change, guys. Hopefully you guys feel like there's actually some change coming. But, alright, we have two excellent guests with us today to talk about it. First, we have a guest who's made a ton of entertaining Final Fantasy XIV videos and has been recently actually streaming a lot as well. I'm very happy to get on the show for the very first time, Very Merry.
Hello, everybody. I'm so happy to be here.
Are you merry? Are you?
I'm very merry.
Excellent.
Hey.
All right. For people who don't know you too much, Mary, tell us about your background a little bit. How long have you been playing the game?
So I've been playing Final Fantasy XIV since around the alpha and beta of 1.0.
Whoa!
So almost probably close to 6 years now. Non-stop I have been playing Final Fantasy.
Except for the 1 year of downtime.
Yeah, except for the downtime.
Yeah. What'd you do during that year?
Played a lot of Guild Wars 2, actually.
Okay.
So,
I gotcha. Guild Wars 2 made me so angry at the end of that game, man. To be honest with you, I got there and I was just like, I don't want to do this one, what was it, Flame Citadel, 100 times.
Yep.
And I had to be a warrior. I think I had to be a warrior or
They had some weird metas going.
Yeah. Anyway, so next, I am overwhelmingly hyped to get back on the show yet again. A very amazing streamer and a dear friend, MiLo. MiLo,
Hey, we're back once again.
Man, it's so good. Much. Yeah, god damn it, it's so good to see you back here on the show. I gotta stop myself from cussing. I'm trying to stop myself from doing it.
Family friendly.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, thank you so much for having me back. I really appreciate it. I've been trying to get back on streaming this week, and it's been fantastic. Like we mentioned earlier, it helps that this patch is really nice as well, since I don't really enjoy streaming anything other than Final Fantasy XIV. I've tried other games and people have been very supportive and encouraging, try other stuff, but I don't know, there's something about just this game. I feel like a bond with this game and this community, but at the same time, for quite some time throughout the past 2 years, I've actually just forced myself to play the game due to streaming, and that was unhealthy, and I realized that. So yeah, it's been very refreshing and just so great to see you and everyone else again, and pick back up where we left off. It's gonna be fun.
Super fun, man. So, how long have you actually been playing the game, MiLo?
I, like Mary, I actually played the beta of 1.0 and the release, but it didn't take me long to how should I say, step away from the mic when it came to 1.0. I just didn't like it that much. Then when I heard about A Realm Reborn, I also played in one of the I don't know what exactly they called them. I guess a pre-release stress test or something like that. Maybe they were called betas. I don't know. Maybe you remember, Mary, before 2.0. Beta stress test. And then I played 2.x series for quite a long time with some breaks in between. I've pretty much been playing since 2.0 came out with some breaks here and there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So you guys are both extremely familiar with the history of this game and how it's kind of progressed. Yes. I myself came into the game at 2.2. So I didn't get a lot of that initial stuff in here. So it's going to be really interesting to hear your perspectives on a lot of this discussion, because I want to talk a little bit about comparisons, and we'll get into that in a second. But okay, so today we definitely want to dive into our experiences with 3.2 over the last 5 days or so. We've seemed to see a massive increase in positive vibes going towards the game. But of course, there has been some additions of people are they probably should have worked on this for a second or so more, and we'll talk about that a little bit as well. But I wanted to discuss the good, the bad, the ugly of it all. This is a good movie. But first, I want to jump a bit into comparison on the previous patches, which I think will help us give us an idea of where we think the game is going to be headed going into even 4.0. So, real quick, this patch is the first serious addition to the game since the release of Heavensward. I mean, you could say 3.1 was a really serious addition, but nothing in comparison to 3.2, I would have to say. And it definitely feels like the game has added a massive amount of new content, interesting content. But first, I kind of want to relate to where we are now in comparison to where we were in 2.2, which was the first big release during the 2.x series. It's a little difficult to compare that, side by side because they're kind of different beasts. 2.2, 2.x came from like a reconstruction of an entire game and revamping everything. This is an addition to the game, so it's a little bit different. But I want to do it for giggles anyways. So what were you guys doing? First off, and I'll ask you, MiLo, first. What were you doing in 2.2? Were you like a serious player? Were you like a player that was like, oh man, I love just farming and gathering?
I'm trying hard to recall that far back, but definitely. So I never rated the first Coil Bahamut when it was like relevant. I just never did it. I think during that time, actually, I'll try to keep this story as short as possible. But actually, I was so into crafting when 2.0 came out, and this will be a throwback for anyone who played back then. There was a very famous Reddit post called it was called something to the effect of like how one like single mother made 1 million gil from goldsmithing. It was a really famous post. Maybe someone remembers that. Anyway, it inspired me. I was like, wow, this is great, because I've been playing MMOs for years when I was a kid in high school, even before that, and I was always broke as a joke, man. I was so poor. I never had money in MMOs, and I was like, okay, this time things are going to be different. I went in on crafting. My first job at level 50 in 2.0 was goldsmith. My Dragoon was like level 35 and my goldsmith was 50. Like I went in on it so hard that I made so much gil that I actually got suspended. I don't know if anyone remembers this. They did like a mass they did a mass ban wave because of RMT, and some like innocent people got caught in the mix, me being one.
Yep.
And actually how that pertains to 2.2 is that actually that angered me so much. They took all my money and suspended me for 72 hours, and I got so pissed that I like stopped playing for a while. And that's why I didn't do first Coil. And then I came back, I think right before 2.2 came out. And then I began playing then. And I seem to recall the one thing about 2.2 is that Leviathan Extreme rewards didn't feel relevant at the time.
Yep.
I'm not sure if I'm would you say that's true, Mary?
Oh yeah.
I think that was like the main difference. Like if we're comparing those sort of things to 3.2 and 2.2, I think that was the one difference where they fixed this time. And I'm sorry if I got away from the original point.
No, it's fine. So basically you were kind of going in there and you started doing in-game content. Were you started to do it at 2.2? Okay.
Second Coil is the first time I started like seriously raiding. Yeah.
Okay, I gotcha. Mary, where were you at kind of 2.2?
2.2, I had been raiding since launch. I actually I was with the same group of people that I was raiding with in 1.0. We were working on our relic weapons in 1.0. And so our statics stayed together throughout the entire year break. We did all of first Coil, and then second Coil came out and we did all of second Coil. So I was hard on the raid train.
That's awesome, man. Like that's actually pretty interesting to hear, because it took me. By the way, it took my group. How long did it take it? We were in 2.4, I think, when we cleared second Coil. I mean, we started making the group way after 2.2 happened, but when we made it and we cleared T9, I think. When did we clear it? Maybe a couple weeks after Final Coil came out, and that's when we started getting serious into raiding. And then we actually cleared Final Coil before, they nerfed it, which was kind of refreshing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And so that means a lot.
Good.
It didn't happen this last patch. Jesus Christ, I feel so bad about that. But at the same time, that's kind of how the raid content was. Well, we'll talk about Heavensward raid content in a little bit. But how do you guys feel the comparison was for content back then to where it is right now? Like, are we kind of in the same level of content? Like, there's a decent amount of stuff to do, I think, in 2.2, right? Yeah. Okay. So, MiLo, what are your thoughts on 2.2 content and kind of what we had to do then?
It's hard to say. I mean, I enjoyed doing second Coil. Of course, that took up some of my time. But actually, It's hard to say because back in that time, I was still just very engrossed with everything about the game, including leveling all the jobs, including crafting. I was really into crafting, gathering, and stuff. I was just very into the game in general. So at that point, for me, since everyone was relatively new to the game at that time, there was just a lot to do regardless of whatever happened in patch 3.2 because you still had to do the stuff that came
You
beforehand.
still have like basic game stuff to do.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a little hard, honestly, for me to compare it in that regard, but I think I never really got bored of the game until I think it was the patch, it was after Final Coil was done, and then before they put it so that you could duty finder it. Up until that point, I was always enveloped and interested in the game, so it's hard for me to speak on that particularly.
Mary, do you feel like in 2.2 there was like a point where you're like, well, I'm done with content, this is kind of boring? Did it ever hit that point, or?
Honestly, I want to say no, because my static, we actually struggled a little bit on turn 9. We wound up clearing it, I want to say maybe like 4 weeks before it became unlocked and you could farm it, every single week or whatever. So I want to say no. Like we had a lot of farming to do. So,
and that's how long? That's 6 months, isn't it, of doing that raid?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, about.
So that's pretty crazy. That's what we kind of have to look forward to, probably with this most recent. Oh my God! Like I'm gonna be honest. I thought that people would be done. Like 8S was done. That's what I would expect by yesterday. But they're just now going into A7S.
Yep.
So that's kind of crazy to hear about that with World First progression. So raids are definitely different between 2.2 and how they are now. We've started to have the concept of normal raids, right? And then we have the concept of a Savage, and it's just 2 segments of it. Do you feel like that's working out great in comparison to how raids kind of work? Because you didn't really get to see any of that content for up to 6 months for some people. Do you feel like raiding now is in a lot better spot than it was back in 2.2? And either one of you guys can answer, sorry.
Honestly, okay, so back in 2.2, 2.3, 2.4, I was a pretty hardcore raider, and I actually wound up becoming a very hardcore raider once Savage Coil came out. I think maybe like a month or 2 after that, I had joined a new static, and we actually supposedly got server first on Balmung for turns 7 and 8 for Savage, to our knowledge anyways. And so I was really hardcore into the raiding, and it was great because we had, second coil and final coil to farm, and we do that for the week. That'd be like our mid core. It wasn't super difficult. It was, challenging, and we got rewards from it. And then it's like, well, we're done. Let's go do Savage Coil. And then once we got those turns down, we got our titles. It was so awesome and rewarding. Right. But now I feel like especially in 3.0 and 3.1, it's like we didn't really have that mid core to get rewarded with. It was only like this really, really hard Savage and normal mode. And so just grinding our faces into Savage and not really making much progression, like on A3S for example, it got a little frustrating, I guess, and I actually quit raiding because of it.
Right. So a lot of people bailed out. MiLo, what do you think the comparisons are right now with 2.2 and 3.2 with raiding? Are you going into it and you're like, I'm happy I'm doing the content the way they have delivered it to you?
A couple things to note. I definitely agree with Mary's point. I still, to this day, I feel like the way that second coil Savage was implemented, of course, I believe this was 2.3 when that came out, right? Yep. It was in between. Yeah. I still think that was the absolute best way they could have done it. I think the rewards could have been adjusted, been given you a little bit more than just a title. For example, like really spicy glamours or something, like gear that had no stats but it was just glamour, and it was really exclusive, or like weapon glows, what have you. Because I agree with Mary that it's, I feel like the most extreme content should be really just for people who are seeking a challenge for challenge's sake, and it shouldn't be like a way you farm gear because, like Mary said, it's really mentally fatiguing. Like that's what happened to me. Floor 4 Savage made me like not quit, but like step away from the game on 2 separate occasions because it was just so unenjoyable of an experience. I mean, there's more to it than that. The fight design in particular, I thought was due to that. But no, I definitely agree with Mary in that I liked second coil's difficulty, and then if you were really seeking an extreme challenge, it was completely optional to do Savage. That being said, though, in this patch, I think that the normal mode of Alexander Midas is really nice. My version of it was skewed because I did it with my raid group, and a couple of them knew what to do, so we didn't struggle at all. From what I've heard, straight duty finder groups like struggle a little bit in like floors 7 and 8, maybe. So maybe they're a little too difficult for the average duty finder, but I'm sure with time, like people will learn. Yeah, I like that. As far as Midas Savage, so I actually didn't go in there yet. My group chose to farm Sephiroth Extreme, which is a good idea on paper until you get 3 Dragoon Spears in a row and like a monk weapon when you don't have a monk, so it ended up backfiring on us. But generally, I think I haven't heard too much negative feedback on that. I guess there's some bugs in Floor 6 Savage.
Yeah, and that's like the biggest thing. And I'm kind of worried about that because I thought the reason they weren't completing it was because it was difficult. But if there's like a bug that's actually preventing a lot of people from clearing it,
yeah, that would be bad. But in terms of the speed, it seems I was looking at the speed at which people were clearing Final Coil because I seem to recall that Square Enix said that they wanted this version of Savage's difficulty to be more in line with like Final Coil. Is that somewhat the case?
Yeah.
And so far, the speed of the kills is almost exactly the same pace as Final Coil. Like the first fight was killed in 1 day, the second fight was killed in about 3 days. Or no,
wasn't it killed in 5 days?
No. Actually, turn 12 was killed, I think, in like 4 days after. So, okay, maybe it's a little more.
It was pretty quick, but 13 took a little bit.
Yeah. So maybe it's similar.
Well, it was really interesting. Like when Heaven's Ward came out, floor 1 and 2 were done in a half a day.
Yeah.
And then we have they're just now hitting 3, like yesterday or this morning. When did they clear A6? Was it this morning?
Maybe yesterday.
It was yesterday, I think.
Oh, it was yesterday. Okay, yeah. And so that's pretty crazy to think in that comparison because the Raiders definitely didn't want more than 2 weeks of progression. Speaking with everyone I have spoken with so far, all the hardcore Raiders, they want 2 weeks is great. Anything past that kind of sucks because 5 weeks is a pain to deal with that progression.
It really is.
I actually want to go back to another point where you guys said how they implemented Savage in the 2.x series compared to how they just had normal rating, which was difficult. It was hard for a lot of groups, and then they implemented Savage to make it that much harder for people who want to do that. And they did that in 2.3.
Yep.
And so we're looking at a patch in 2.2 where hardcore raiders could do stuff, a patch in 2.3 where hardcore raiders can do stuff, and then 2.4 again. Now we don't have anything like that. It's like patch 6 months, then hardcore raiders can come back and do some more stuff. So do you feel like they should definitely start doing something similar to that style to where they're implementing something for players who are in that kind of skill level, like almost every patch, but just like saying, all right, this is the same content, now it's brutal mode. Should they do that?
Do you want to answer that?
I have just a quick thought, but since I talked so much previously, I don't want to hog the mic. But basically, from a, I guess, personal standpoint, I would say yes. But from a financial standpoint, I would say 100% no, because the people who actually care about that content are such an extreme minority of the player base that it really doesn't make sense for them to spend resources doing that. Despite the fact that I personally would like it if they did. And there are a lot of people who would like it if they did, but I mean, just facing reality, those people are such a minority that I don't think it makes sense for the development team to do that particularly.
Mary?
Actually, so I definitely agree with those points. Absolutely. However, I think what I seem to recall remembering in patch 2.3 when they did Savage Coil, they said basically like, okay, so what this is essentially the coil that we designed at first, and then we reduced the difficulty to what it became for 2.2 in second coil. And so the Savage was like the original, just like,
Yeah.
let's make this as hard as we can, and people can still beat it. Like, let's just maximize it and then adjust it. And if they still do that, like if they still have that, development style where they make these fights incredibly difficult and see if their teams can beat them, and if they can, and then just kind of, adjust them from there. If they still have those, it might, make sense to perform some minor tweaking and then release those the next patch as like a savage or a
well, I mean, it
brutal.
seems like that's what they did with this patch, because A6 was so difficult and it had that buggy sense to it. They're like, all right, well, this is the unrefined version, this is difficult, now let's dumb it down to an easier version. It kind of feels like what they did. And from what I heard, the first raid tier of Alex, they didn't clear this content themselves. The developers didn't clear any of that content. They were just like, here
Really?
you go. Yeah. They just put it out there. And I think not having that big ground for a QA testing is kind of a little bit rough. I mean, guys, if you guys need me to be a QA tester, I'll do it. I would love to go in there and try to make that work. But, okay, so that gives us a good idea between, like, I guess 2.x and kind of where we're standing right now with how content's coming out and developing. Because it's different. It's definitely a lot different than how they were doing it in 2.x. And I kind of don't mind how they're doing it right now. I do agree that there is no real good middle ground for mid-core still. Although, it's still kind of like you have really difficult content for people who have no clue how to play the game. For that first level there. But the people who understand how to play the game but aren't really there on that very in-game stuff, you have Sephiroth Extreme, I guess would be the good point for them. But okay, so let's talk a little bit about, and I want to remind everybody that's watching the show, by the way, if you have any questions at all, I forgot to say this earlier, please ask them in chat. Kerr is sitting there waiting to collect your questions, so if you're not asking questions, she's like, well, I guess I got nothing to do. So yeah, ask questions, and she definitely would be more than happy to collect them so we can answer them later in the show. But let's talk about 3.2 versus the Heaven's Ward released, and kind of the level of content that they're bringing in versus the level of content they had then. Although the level of content coming out of Heaven's Ward was great because you had the level up from 50 to 60. After all of that solo content, you didn't have a lot of MMO content, is what I'd like to call it, because you don't have a lot of content where you're going out and you're playing with a lot of people. Would you guys kind of agree with that, or am I just making stuff up?
Absolutely.
Okay, and so the level of content from there in comparison to what we have to do right now, do you feel like that's enough to keep people kind of invested in the game with this patch? And MiLo, since you are the one I know has like burnout fever, I want to ask your opinion of it.
It's tough to say. I'm not really sure, but my perspective on it's a little bit different. Actually, in the past couple of months, I would say my perspective and motivations towards the game kind of changed. I think maybe part of it has to do with just the place I am at in life, and maybe some of it has to do with like Floor 4 Savage as well. Like that fight really messed me up emotionally and mentally. But really, I've sort of come to a point where I actually want to like take a step back from raiding, just because of like, where I'm at in my life. And if I think about what would I do in the game if not for raiding, it's kind of hard to come up with a like a solid answer right now. I think even still, of course, you have still Void Arc, which I guess now you just do it for, you have like a grade 5 materia.
And you can also get all the 210 weapons for everybody now.
Yeah. Though the fact that they did add mounts to Ravana Extreme and Bismarck Extreme, and Sephiroth Extreme has one, right? But does Sephiroth Normal have one? Or just only Extreme?
No, just Extreme. And Thornton has it too.
Yep, Thornton does too.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, so I like that they put that in because that is, like, for example, again, going along the hypothetical, like if I didn't raid, what would I do? Also, Jim mentioned the new PvP mode. I don't know much about it, but
it's not out yet. It's coming.
Yeah, that might be interesting. Yeah, it's tough to say. I really one thing I really wish they had put in to this patch, and I thought they were going to, is for you to be able to duty finder Gordia Savage.
Can you not do that?
I think you can actually.
You have to have a full party though. I meant like straight up like just going out in the wild.
Like you can't duty finder it? You have to have like a full party before?
You can duty finder it, but with 8 people only.
Yeah.
Oh, that's I didn't even try that. That's kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because for me, one of the most fun experiences I ever had when in this game when I was not raiding was the patch in which Final Coil was released in Duty Finder, and they had the echo, but like on turn 13 and turn 12, it didn't really matter. If you screwed up the mechanics, you were still going to wipe, and I found that to be so fun. We mentioned about how there still seems to be a lack of content in the middle, in between like the super hardcore and then just like the normal someone who just plays for leisure. And in my opinion, though, that being able to duty finder for a really difficult fight, and if you had the mentality like, okay, there's like a 99% chance we're gonna fail. I don't know. I personally enjoyed those a lot.
Well, I mean,
maybe I'm in the minority.
That's kind of like that would be amazing content to add into the game, simply because there's a lot of people who were streaming around the end of the last patch trap parties, right? And so you're looking for party finder people who are trying to get clears on stuff, and you're like, I know this is going to suck. I've cleared this 1,000 times.
Yeah.
But like, sorry, my headset was feeling a little bit weird there. It was fluffing my hair. So there's a lot of people out there who are looking for this content, and they would love to say, this is crazy and masochistic, but I'm going to duty finder A4 Savage. And they would do it, right?
Yeah.
And people, and it's good streaming content.
It was one of my favorite experiences of all time. Like I would do like turn 13 with like no heads up display and stuff, and like it was just fun because the content was still meaningful. I couldn't just like be asleep at my keyboard and do it. But at the end of the day, like not really much was on the line. And also, and then how I mentioned about the 99% chance of failure, but then there's that 1% chance. There's a quick anecdote. It turned out that when I was in a turn 13 duty finder, we met a group of people, like someone recognized who is kind of a well-known personality, but played on a different server with their friends, and me and a couple of my friends, and we actually got a clear for one of my close friends from my stream community. We got him his first turn 13 clear in a duty finder with a group comprised of players from like 4 different servers. Like it was absolutely awesome, and it is of almost no development time for Square Enix to make this happen. Like the content's already there. All they have to do is let people queue up, and I don't see how that would be detrimental in any way to the game's state. And it would only add, and it would not subtract from the game experience. So I really wish they would put that in. Honestly, I think it would open up a lot of exciting stuff to do.
Yeah, I completely agree. There's so much they can add to these fights, and I'm actually going to talk about one a little bit later when we get in to a little bit more detailed discussion about the raids. I also want to ask another question, and I'll start with you, Mary. So going into doing normal Alex content, basically normal Gordius, comparison to normal Midas, are you more hyped to go into Savage than you were at the very beginning?
I actually don't even know if I'm going to go into Savage Midas yet. I'd like to, but it's just kind of like I'm still figuring that out. But let's say I was.
Okay, let's say you were. Yeah.
Let's say I were. Absolutely. I'm the fights in Midas seem so much better than Gordius. Like they're all fun. You know, they got really unique mechanics, and they bring a lot to the table that we've never seen before, really. So, like, I'm really excited about that, and it does kind of like raise the appeal for raiding a bit because they have a lot of new stuff that isn't just rehashed old raid, mechanics we've seen time and time again. So,
I gotta agree. Like going into those fights, you're happy you're in that fight. You're never upset. You're never like, oh, this sucks. This is all right. This is kind of boring. Except for the start of 8-8. I was kind of like, this is kind of boring. But I mean, it hits a point where it just flips the switch, and it's just like, you're the happiest person in the world. You're right here in this fight. MiLo, what are your perceptions? Because I mean, you were really hardcore into raiding at the beginning of Heavensward.
That's correct.
And doing normal Gordius versus normal Midas, do you feel like there's a lot of really good hope in going into raiding now?
I think so. You're talking about normal mode specifically right now.
Well, going from normal mode into Savage, is that like, has that made you more excited to go into Savage than maybe?
Oh, okay. So yeah, as far as Gordias normal, I legitimately did it one time, maybe twice, to get some 190 gear. But yeah, it was dreadful. It was just so boring. I mean, maybe the case could be made that floor 3 normal was kind of interesting, but in general, it was just not really much to write home about. It wasn't very exciting. And then, of course, there's the problem that occurred when people went to go do Savage after having done normal. It was like the encounters had just put the pedal to the metal, and it was so much harder than normal, and it did not prepare people adequately. Going into Midas, again, my group didn't begin Savage yet, Savage Midas, and I mean, I'm sure there's still going to be quite a gap in difficulty there, but at least it seems that farming normal mode every week for your pieces isn't going to be a painful experience, due to some things, like maybe we could get in later. I think just the nature of what you are fighting is so important, and it's something where I feel like they really missed the mark in Gordias, particularly on floors 2 and 4. And I think that they sort of remedied that in this new one. So I'm very hopeful in that regard. I think that's so huge, really. Like, despite the mechanics, I think what everyone learned from Floor 4 Savage and what the dev team learned is that, like, what makes a raid compelling isn't just if the mechanics are difficult, but it has to be a combination of the mechanics being thought-provoking, and also what you're engaging with, like the enemy, must also be engaging in order for you to get the experience that players want to pay $13 a month for.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So I like where it's going.
I'm definitely engaged with it. I mean, fighting Brute Justice, fighting a guy that's like flying me off into cages, fighting a guy that's a giant abomination, Frankenstein, goblin. That's awesome. And then fighting 4 different separate little fights. That was kind of weird when I first, because it kind of felt a little bit like A2, to be honest, because I was like, you're kind of fighting small things. There's just a couple mechanics on this guy, a couple mechanics on the next guy, a couple on the last guy. But it was interesting. I mean, it was kind of interesting to go through there and do it. And it took a while to figure out the whole ice thing, which I thought was a neat little concept. But I enjoyed it all. I think we were laughing and having fun the entire time that we were doing it as a raid group.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, okay. So we have a few questions here that I want to go into. ENJOYYY King. Question, how do you guys feel about raid gear having materia slots, and how do you think it will affect gearing going forward?
I think it's cool. I think it's really interesting because they've had this materia system, and for the most part, it was almost entirely worthless. Like, you know, you'd have your tanks who would meld strength accessories or whatever with Vit for raiding, but no one else. Like, there was no point really. Crafted gear was always kind of subpar. You know, there was just no point to materia. But now they're bringing materia in, making it a viable system. Now we have to meld our gear. You know, now crafted gear is actually on par with like opening, you know, tier normal mode Midas, and better even with melds. And so it's like it's nice to see them starting to make crafting a little more valuable. Materia give it an actual use. So
yeah. My group is actually one of those groups that I was like, you don't have to do crafted stuff. If you want to do it and you want to help yourself, that's fine. But I understand. I'm poor. I'm broke. I don't like to do crafted stuff. But it seems like it's not nearly as bad to do the crafted gear as it used to be.
Yeah.
And getting that extra materia is going to help out a lot because, I mean, healers are going to be like, oh, I can hit with my miasma now, right? It's not always going to effing fail. And then, how do you feel about materia, MiLo? Do you think that this is adding enough customability to the game to make it a little bit more interesting?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with Mary's point. Just the fact that materia was such a core concept of, well, Final Fantasy in general, and this game was literally almost entirely useless except for crafting and gathering. Though, to be honest, it's weird because I think that I guess for people who play DPS jobs, so I'm going to come at this from the healing perspective. For me, it's fantastic because now I actually can realistically cap accuracy, which has never been possible, I think, ever. I mean, people would put accuracy, like, they would meld their, like, Zeta weapons with accuracy and stuff, but it was never enough. And that means a lot to me. I think people who play DPS jobs probably understand that melding like a little bit of crit or det isn't going to make you do a lot more damage. But I think people who play those jobs anyway, like they like just the minor upgrades. So they're happy. Same thing with tanks. And yeah, in general, I just think it's really good that they found a use for materia.
Yeah, it was such a garbage thing. And I was sad. I was depressed. This is like a staple of Final Fantasy, materia. You know, you think Final Fantasy, you're like, oh yeah, materia makes sense. You put it in your weapons and whatever, and you get special bonuses from it. And then they had it all over like the leveling process, which is stupid. They need to just remove it from the whole leveling process almost. But it was really awesome to know that it was in the game. But as soon as I hit 50, I was like, do I do anything with this? You know, I had to find out what I'm supposed to do with materia, and everybody's like, no, throw it away. I mean, sell it on the market board. Some people need it for their weapons. That's it. That's where you get money from it.
More than that, it's and on the other hand, it's being able to upgrade gear from raids has been a staple in MMOs for a while, and it was bizarre that Final Fantasy XIV didn't include it. Also, it gives people one of the greatest things both in MMOs and in life in general, which is the illusion of choice. People always like to complain about there's all the gear progression is linear and you just get the next item and like it's still the case.
Good impression.
At least now people can think that they have like the choice, even though they're all just gonna meld whatever's the mathematically best stat. It makes people feel like they're upgrading their gear and like on their own terms, and they have a choice, and that's always good. That's always what you want.
I mean, it's kind of interesting for a lot of progression rates that if they add like vitality, like Ark was saying kind of in chat, like having the option to add vitality makes it to where you can get past certain mechanics that might otherwise wipe your group. And then I think black mages have some variability there to where they can say, all right, well, I'm going to go this type of mage instead of this type of mage. But I think most people are going to like spell speed. I think that's what I heard from our caster show. Everyone wants spell speed as a black mage, right? But yeah. Okay, so we got another question here. Aries Grey Wolf, do you ever feel like we will see a cross-server party finder?
Oh God, I hope so.
Yeah.
What do you think about this?
Yeah. Yes, please. Because it's a really like big issue right now. Is there's a few really populated servers. Like I'm on one. I'm on Balmung, and it's it's super populated. But then you hear about other servers, and people are like, half the servers just RMT. I'm getting RMT spam up the wazoo. I haven't gotten RMT tel in like 2 years because Balmung has always been so full they can't make characters. And it's like, it just, I feel like either they need to merge servers or they like a cross server party finder thing would be really, really helpful because then those smaller servers actually have, more people to do stuff with.
Yeah.
Like, because right now it's just,
it would make things a lot more interesting, and at least in the data centers, because I mean that makes sense that you would limit it to data centers or something like that. But I don't see any reason to why they would hold off on it too much longer. I mean, it does take a little bit away from your server because you don't feel like you have to interact with them as much because you have other servers to deal with. But I don't know. I think so too. They will be adding that sometime in the future. One last question here before we start getting back on track. Gerdzim wants to know why your headset is pink, MiLo.
So there's two factors. One, I like the color pink, and I mean, I don't think Anyway, yeah, I like to color pink.
Okay.
And two, actually, these headsets, when I bought them, were part of a promotion. This was during October, which is Breast Cancer Awareness / Research Month. And SteelSeries was doing a promotion where if you purchased this color, part of the proceeds would go toward breast cancer research funding. And since I was in the market for this pair of headphones anyway, I thought there was absolutely no reason why I wouldn't get the pink colorway. And I am not worried about gender norms or those sort of things when it comes to what color headphones I wear.
Pink is a very manly color.
It is.
And I mean, if you wear it, it doesn't even matter, man. Like, I think a lot of those things are kind of weird that people still hang on to it, but...
but mostly I think to Gerdzum's points, like, yeah, I had the choice. I could have got white, I could have got black, I could have got purple, green, and they were doing this promotion to help out cause, and I felt like that was more important than, me having black or white headphones or something, so yeah.
Man, I like my headset, although I didn't choose it. Kurg got it for me, but...
That's a beautiful one, too. I considered buying that one, like, later on, but I gotta stay true.
Gotta stay
and
true,
these things
man.
have held up. They've held up I've had them for, like, almost 3 years.
Yeah, I've had them for... I don't know if it's been 3 years.
Or maybe 2.5.
Might have been close to hell. I don't know. Well, anyways, enough about headsets, guys. Enough about headsets. I want to talk to you guys a little bit more in detail about the actual content in 3.2 and why people are actually hyped up for this patch. Coming into this patch, a lot of people have different... Like, people are coming back to the game, and they're just coming in drones, and they're just like, I have to play this game now. It looks so much more interesting. So I want to ask first off, coming into 3.2, what's something that they advertised in this patch that just kind of reeled you in? You're like, I want to play this game now because I saw this thing in this patch. And MiLo, I'm going to start with you, man.
So originally it was, of course, the new raid tier. That's always been something that's, well, I kind of alluded to earlier. Up until now, that's been something that, like, highly motivated me and interested me. Now it's a little bit different. Like, I still want to do it. I'm trying to, like, step away from formal raiding, but there's a chance that I might be able to see the new Savage content, like, before I, like, move away. Mm-hmm. But honestly, like, I don't know. I always just find it so compelling. Like, when we were doing Sephiroth Extreme, learning that fight. It doesn't even have to be raiding, but for me, when I play an MMORPG, I like to be, like, mentally stimulated or challenged. I like it when there's problems in front of me that I have to solve. And so I guess the most surefire way for that to happen in MMO is with raid content, like difficult raid content. So that was it for me, and something I've been trying to do more recently in the past, really since Heavensward came out, is not actually pay too much attention to what is in a patch. I prefer to find it out on my own and be surprised, and more importantly, not have any preconceived notions before experiencing content. Even though I try to remain open-minded, if you hear something said about any particular thing in a patch, it's going to influence your perception of it, whether you like it or not.
So you like watching movies without watching a trailer?
Exactly. I don't like read reviews and things like that. And yeah, that's just like a personal thing. Right. So a lot of stuff, like I've heard a little bit about, like Creaky mentioned the PvP and you mentioned it earlier. Like I heard about it. And that's it. Or, yeah, other things like that. I just hear a little bit about it, but I want to see it for myself. So really,
basically, like, just the content, like having new rating content was more or less kind of what was bringing you in, and having stuff to do with other people.
Yeah, okay. Exactly. That's a big thing for me.
That's pretty straightforward. Mary, was there anything that you saw that you're like, I'm so ready for 3.2 because of this?
Well, for starters, so ever since Second Coil, the high Algan sets had always been my favorite. Like, on my tank, I have not glamored out of the high Algan tank set since I got it back in Second Coil, and so I was super excited about dyeable versions. I've wanted that for literally almost years, so it's like, that was really exciting. But as far as real content goes, I I'd have to say the Feast. I'm actually kind of a sort of a big PvPer, at least when like the community is like really going at it. So like when they release new ranks or new gear. But I'm rank 50. I used to PvP a lot. I have my ADS mount. I have the field commander stuff from Seal Rock. But even back when the Wolves Den was a thing, like I was doing that. And the PvP in 14 isn't amazing. It's not great. It's not World of Warcraft PvP.
Right.
But it's enjoyable. I'm sorry, I'm gonna
do it. Okay.
And it's just like I'm really excited that they're adding a ranking system and all that stuff, like something to really work at and people to get really competitive with. I'm sure the meta is going to develop and like it's going to be like if you're not a warrior, ninja, summoner, astrologian, you're not going to win kind of thing, because that's just kind of how it works. The PvP isn't super balanced, but I'm still really excited because I love being competitive. I love PvP. So I'm really, really looking forward to diving in and getting to Diamond, hopefully.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I also want to mention is that like things don't have to be balanced with PvP at the get-go. Just go out there, let it happen, let people have fun with it, and if it's not balanced, make it balanced, even it out as it goes along. And people will still enjoy the content and deal with it, and they'll enjoy it more as you improve upon it, but have something there that people can grasp on and be happy about doing. And having titles, rewards, ranks, stuff like that is going to drive people into PvP, whether it's balanced or is not balanced, right?
Yeah.
And so and it's funny you said this stuff about getting high elegance sets, because I was, of course, before we did the show today, I was going and getting content from your channels to do a little intro video for the show. And it would always be 3.2 binding coil, 3.2 binding coil, 3.2 binding coil. And you're just like nothing but binding coil for like the last 5 days.
Yep. Been working really hard at getting all those sets. I have like the full tank set. I have every single tank weapon. I just got my ninja daggers a bit ago, so
I'm kind of wanting to go back and do it, but now I'm not playing warrior anymore. I'm like, whatever. I only want the tank chest piece. I don't care about anything else. Maybe I need to go back warrior. Sorry, Carrick. Anyways, so the casual content that they brought in, something we haven't even mentioned at all about this, is the dungeons, right? They came out with 2 dungeons, and how they were doing the dungeons, people weren't really too happy because it's in sets of 2, right? Compared to sets of 3.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, but they came out with the Anti-Tower and Ampidor, which I haven't done Ampidor, by the way, guys. I've been so busy with everything else that I haven't even had a chance to do Ampidor. But the 2 new dungeons are actually fun. At least the Anti-Tower for me was a lot of fun. How do you guys feel with the current situation with the dungeon? We have 6 of them now, by the way, guys. 6 dungeons. How do you feel with the most current additions to the dungeons? Are we getting into a place to where we can be kind of content with what kind of 4-man content we have to do? And Mary, you know what? I'll ask you this time first.
So, honestly, I think the dungeons are pretty good. They're fun. Like the mechanics are cool. I was a Final Fantasy 11 player before 14, and there's a lot of like mobs, they bring in like that are from 11, and so you'll see them and you'll be like instantly nostalgic, and that's really cool. The fights are interesting. They're not too hard, and I think I recall them recently. They're talking about like possibly doing like basically a savage or a hard mode version of 4-man content. And so if they take these dungeons they're making and they make them harder, like that might be really cool. But like as far as like just kind of casual dungeons go, right now they're new and they're fun and they're exciting. They might just kind of fall in line like the other ones, where eventually you're like, well, I've done this a million times, just kind of get through it. But they're good. I think they're good. I don't hate doing them. So
yeah, that's the biggest thing. Do you hate actually having to go through and do these or not? Because if you're farming every week to get your lore and you're doing your expert, do you really hate having to go out and do it? MiLo, do you have any experience with them?
Yeah, I feel the same way. They're both fine. It's the last encounter of Anti-Tower is pretty interesting. Like the first time you see it,
it's wonderful.
None of the other, actually, the last. Well, I done Andapur hard mode once, and then the rest of the times I got Anti-Tower. But I thought the last boss of Andapur Keep Hard was pretty cool. I mean, in general, nothing mind blowing, but they're fine. Like Mary and you said, I don't hate doing them. But one thing I really dislike that they even still attach the name roulette to this system that is actually just a coin flip.
Right.
Roulette is there's a little bit more to it than two options.
Right.
So that always kind of irked me. I wish they would put the last two. I wish roulette would have 4 or 3 dungeons, just so it's not, because we're talking about longevity in this patch, having to go the distance and keep people entertained for a while.
Mhm.
Even just every 3 days or so, seeing a different dungeon than Anti-Tower or Andapur Hard, I feel like improves the longevity or people's attention. At least for me, it does. I don't want to do the same damn 2 dungeons every time. Like, I really just don't.
You think, because they carried that system kind of over from the last one, but they had 3 each time, right? In comparison to 2,
I believe
right?
it was 3, right? Was it?
Yeah. I think it was 2. It was 2 hard modes and then like a whole new one, I think was what they did.
Correct. So I wish they would go at least back to that. I mean, it really is, when you're talking about upgrading from 2 to 3. I'm not great at math, but that percentage increase is pretty large.
So they should just keep at least 4 in there instead of.
I mean, at least.
Or just
3.
call it coin flip.
Yeah, just call it expert coin flip or something. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's fine. They're okay.
Okay, good. Have you guys completed the main story quest?
I have.
MiLo, you haven't. How far have you gotten to Anti-Tower? And that's it.
Yeah, dude. Like literally, I didn't do the 3.1 story quest until Tuesday. When 3.1 came out, when 3.2 came out, I did 3.1 because I had to. I mean, to be honest, man, like I just could not care less about the story of this game. It's just not really why I play MMOs. I mean,
Fair
not
enough.
to like bag on the story at all.
Mhm.
I mean, a lot of people absolutely love it, and that's great. It doesn't motivate me at all. I just do it whenever I have to. So I'm not really a good person to ask.
So you're
about.
pretty meh about the whole story. So I'm gonna go to Mary. Do you like the story at all? And we don't, without spoilers or anything. Just
Yeah, of course. Yes, I really do. At least as far as the main scenario goes, I'm really liking the way it's shaping up. 3.1 was a huge letdown. There was it felt like no story development. They were just like setting everything up. But 3.2 was really good. I enjoyed it. I'm really excited to see where the story goes. Alexander is good. I enjoyed it. It's interesting that they went with a more like comedic story for the
Right.
8-man raid, because I'm used to 2.0 being so serious with Coil.
Yeah.
And so like as far as that goes, like it's nice to have like something funny to do, and it's not just like serious main story, serious raid story. It's like funny, funny / sortly serious raid story, and then a really serious gritty main scenario. And I think they really delivered in 3.2. I'm really hype for 3.3. Okay.
So is it keeping you kind of invested with the story? MiLo,
yeah.
And this is for Mary completely, not MiLo. Is the story keeping you kind of invested still with you care about what's going on?
Yes, I'm really curious about where things are going to go now. So they got me hooked.
Excellent. I mean, because the Savage story mode, it's really hard to care about that at all. Like, I didn't really care if I watched the cutscenes or not when I was doing the fights. I kind of did because I wanted to see what's going on, and then at the very end of that whole story thing, it got goofy as hell. But
yeah, like it's funny. It's no Hildebrand, so but you know, it's.
I haven't even done that yet.
Neither have
that. And then they have
too.
another side story with Kettles.
Yeah, apparently. So I guess you can get like a kettle furnishing that's like a Nexus kettle, so it has like the Nexus glow from the relic weapons, and monks can get fist weapons that are just kettles.
Yeah, they get these 2 kettles that they hold on to, and it's like steaming and glowing and going crazy, and that's your weapons.
Only monks
kettles.
can get this?
Yeah, Nexus kettles.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's absolutely amazing, and I'm glad they added it to the game.
Yeah.
And in regards to monk weapons, they also added for Sephiroth Extreme, just bare fist stuff, and that's
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah, they need more stuff like that because that's what people were kind of complaining about. Was I don't want these crazy weapons on my fist. I'm a monk. I just want to beat them. I want some bandages that look really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into something that MiLo might have a good opinion on. Actually, I don't know. Have you guys invested any time into the whole mentor system?
I have not.
No,
I don't
not
even
at
have
all.
healer at 60 yet, so
Okay.
I can't.
So I'm going to talk about my experiences with Mentor System. We're going to talk about a little bit of Frosty time here. Um, I I was really excited for the Mentor System. And I'm still kind of excited for it, but I love the fact that I get a chance to help people out, and there's a system in place that says, hey, this connects you to new players, and you can help them out and do what they need to do to make sure that it works out. So I'll explain it to you guys, just so you know kind of what the deal is. There's a mentor chat, all right? I haven't done the mentor roulette, but there's a mentor chat. And this is one of the biggest topics with people on Rank of Reddit and anywhere else about the whole mentor system is the chat. And so you can have 100 people that are mentors in the chat, and then 412 people who are new players that can be in that chat, and it's all from your same server. And it's just kind of like a separate LS, a separate thing. And then to get new players in there, people have to invite them. Mentors have to invite new players in there. And once they invite them, you don't have a choice. If a mentor invites you, you're in the chat. There's no yes or no. You're just in the chat. But think about this whole ratio. Getting new players into those chats is like not an easy thing to do. You have to find new players at least, and you have to be careful about it because you don't want RMT in there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that's the whole reason why they made it to where you had to invite people to avoid RMT from getting into it. So right now, most mentor chats are like 100 to like 20 people, like 100 mentors, 20 people who actually need help. And so when someone joins the chat, they're like, hey guys, this little sprout pops up icon, and then like 50 people who are mentors like, hi, hello, hey, how are you doing? What you doing? Hey, you having fun? So what can I help you with? What can I do? And then someone's like, so how do I get a Chocobo? And then you see paragraphs from like 50 people like selling them how to get a Chocobo. And then, so there sometimes is a lack of people actually saying anything in the chat. And then it starts to turn into an LS where mentors are just discussing in-game content.
Ooh.
And so like it's not really fulfilling its purpose, because how do you control people from what they do in the chat without banning them? And then also, here's another fun fact. You can ban other mentors from the chat. A mentor can ban another mentor. So if a mentor goes in there and says, hey, you should play Ice Mage, they can ban that guy from the chat.
Wait, one person? Is it
one person?
Like a
one person.
system?
No, there's no. It's just like kick them out, and then after they're kicked out, a GM can investigate it if there's an issue with it, and then actually go back to see if that's like a legitimate kick. And so it's really weird how that whole system's set up. And by the way, there's like 500 mentors on like at any given time, so it's rare you're even in there unless if you've been on the game for 8 hours. So it's been this whole cluster F, guys, and I'm kind of upset with how the whole chat system worked out, because it hasn't really helped anyone yet. I'm hoping because if you're a mentor, you can say, hey, I don't want in the chat, but most people are just going to turn the novice chat off and just stay in there. And they're like, I'm a mentor, I'm in the novice chat, but they're not going to see anything. They'll throw it in like a different tab or something. I don't know. I was hoping that I would say, all right, well, I'm going to bring these new players to the game. I'm going to teach them how to play. I'm going to have like a school, and this is my dojo. I'm going to bring all these new players in here, and they're going to be my students, my apprentices, and they're going to go out and conquer the world, right? Nothing like that. It's been really disappointing. Do you think that this system actually needed to be added to the game? I'm still in the air about it, guys.
I'm of two minds. So first, like it's really nice to have, essentially just kind of like a proof that you want to help people. Like before, I used to always, if I saw a Sprout or someone, like sometimes I'd just whip up some HQ like level 20 gear for them real quick and throw it over to them. Like, here, have this. I always liked helping out newer players and like making them feel welcome and stuff like that. And the mentor system is really cool for doing that. It is kind of silly that you have to have everything at a tank, a healer, and a DPS to become a mentor. What I think they should have done is what they did in Final Fantasy XI, where like you could become a mentor, and you only had to have like a character at a certain level, and that was it, and you could become a mentor. And what they should have done is had it where like there was no novice chat, but novices could have like a special window where they could pull it open, see all of the mentors of whatever job they're playing or whatever class, and then they could ask those people questions. Like send them individually like a message like, hey, how do I do this? Like they don't need a chat where everyone's just crammed together, but rather a tool for people to get in contact with people who will be willing to help them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. And actually, I have a little bit of a story. I haven't gotten into the system, but now that you're talking about it, maybe I will. Except it seems like they executed it a little bit.
You could
poorly,
try it for fun. You get a little crown next to your head.
Yeah, but actually, I did have an experience in this sort of MMO mentorship relationship once, and it occurred in Final Fantasy XI, but way before the actual mentor system in that game was released. It was when I started playing that game. I was like 13 years old, so I could like barely type. I didn't know what the hell was going on, and also back then the information you could find about MMOs on the internet wasn't as robust. I mean, it was there, but not that much. And long story short, there was some. I just asked some dude like for help. I wanted to become a samurai, and this dude was a samurai. And I just asked him some questions about it, and it ended up like over like the period of a couple months, like this dude just gave me a lot of information, told me like where to go, showed me where to go. Because in that game also, like at times you would actually have to literally like and figuratively take someone by the hand and lead them through zones. That doesn't exist anymore. But I definitely agree with Mary in that that sort of system should probably be more of like just asking one person at a time. And I think it could be even interfaced in a way how Mary mentioned you could just search all the people of a certain job. I heard recently about it's starting to pop up now in the field of medicine. They have these phone apps where you can use them to contact a doctor or get a diagnosis or something like from a nurse. It's called like telemedicine. You can check it out, anyone, if you want. But something like that, if they had an interface in the game where maybe it had sort of like if you were opening up a support ticket, but instead of sending it to a GM, it sends it to someone who has volunteered to be a mentor. So they would have like quests, dungeons, raids, crafting, tabs, and then it would open up a ticket, and then you could speak with someone about that, and like ask them, like, get a diagnosis or something. I think that would be a good way to go about it.
Yeah, that's
more
than
what it is
great.
now.
So like, even if it was just like a really simple, if you want to ask it, they just interface this to a new player. Like, hey, if you need a question, hit this question mark and ask a mentor. It's just a thing, and you just type in whatever your question is, and it sends it out. And then everyone who's a mentor gets a little ping or something next to their chat that says, hey, there's questions that need to be answered here. People can go on there, and people are going to be like trying to get it as fast as possible, of course. People who are really in depth, and they're like, I have to answer every single question as fast as possible. Be the best mentor on the server. And so people are going to do that, but at the same time, those questions get answered. And usually they'll get good answers, and they can do the same kind of monitoring. If someone gets you can just say, all right, well, this has been answered. It'll be in gray, and then people can go back and look. This guy just told this guy to go F himself when he asked a question. And then they can report that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So that would be interesting. I agree that there's a couple other ways they could have done it. And this is a pretty simple way to start off the system. But it would be better if you had a mentor, someone that you could talk to every time they logged on, about whatever questions, like you said, that samurai, and just kind of figure out what you need to do with the game with one person and get like some sort of relationship with them. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I agree. Okay,
so let's get into the non-casual stuff, and let's talk about how raiding is currently in the game. We talked about actually a lot already on the show. Where are you guys at currently with raiding? MiLo, you said you haven't really touched any of Savage. You've just done Sephiroth Extreme, right?
Yeah, my group decided to farm it. It's like it seemed like a good idea, but in reality, because I mean, you gotta
kill it 10 times. That's all you gotta
weapons,
do, man.
Yeah, 10 times. I think we killed it like 7 or something, and I don't know. We were screwing around, not doing that well, but I mean, I guess it's a good idea on paper since you're gonna probably want those weapons anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think next time we're gonna go into Midas Savage, and I'm really looking forward to that. But yeah, I actually haven't experienced it yet, so I can't speak too much about that.
Okay, but you do have goals to go into Savage as much as you can, starting like next week, like in a casual kind of pace, not like a super hardcore pace. Like you're going.
Actually, yeah. So that's part of it. Actually, so my raid group right now, currently, we're playing like I think like 5 or 6 days a week, which is actually a lot, and it's part of the reason why like actually like I put in my like 2 weeks notice, like sort of thing. Like I'm trying to leave because that's just too much for me right now at this point in my life. I mean, I would love to see the content. There's no doubt about it. It seems really fun. But like 5-6 days a week raiding, it's just I just can't really do that right now.
What kind of rating are you looking for? Like 2-3 nights a week, or?
Something like that would be better, or maybe even not at all. Like I would not mind sort of transitioning back to a place where like, which is why I really was a little sad that you couldn't do Gordia Savage Duty Finders. I think I might just be ready to step away from that, but I will, until like a replacement's found, I will be staying and doing as much of the content as possible. So who knows? Maybe I'll see like 5, 6, 7, 8 if I'm lucky. That's the plan for now, at least.
All right, and Mary, where are you? You said that you kind of backed away a lot from raiding right now.
Yeah. When my static got to A3S, the infamous static killer,
right.
It just kind of killed raiding for me at the time, and I quit raiding and I started, actually that's basically when I started doing my live streaming. Before I had just been a YouTuber. And so now that I'm doing like the live streaming and I'm doing that full time now, and I'm trying to sort of be professional about it and all this stuff and make it grow and all that good stuff. I just like I want to raid, but the raider in me is a hardcore raider. Like if I had the means to, I'd love to be a world first raider. Be a part of one of those types of groups. But I feel like I have so much going on in my life that I'd rather be working on other than raiding, and so I'm just kind of like pushing into the side. I might try like Sephiroth X, maybe peek into Midas Savage a little bit down the road, but like right now I just have other things I'd rather focus on. So
no, that
just kind of playing casually.
I'm in the exact same spot. I mean, obviously for different personal reasons, but yeah, it's just I wish, kind of to what Mary said, I thought about this the other day. I wish I had 2 separate lives. One in which I could just go hardcore, like don't have to care about anything, just world first type stuff, be on that cutting edge, and then like another separate life where I can just take care of the other things I need to take care of. And it's tough though, and it does, I think, speak to a symptom of a missing link in the current endgame sphere of content that hopefully will be addressed. Though I have to chime in really quickly when you guys were mentioning about the feast. Like the more and more and more I hear about that, the more excited I get, because that's always been the perennial gap closer in MMOs. Has been PvP. Is like the guaranteed golden goose of infinite repeatable content. Yeah. And so if that is even remotely an enjoyable experience, really as if people just queue up for the thing, because Mary mentioned it earlier, like he's into PvP when the community is. I didn't particularly enjoy sitting in queues for PvP. If they pick up with a feast, that'll be good too. But
feast, I guess that will kill a lot of queue times because there's so many people playing it. Hopefully, there's enough people at similar levels that can go in at the same time. It doesn't.
And there's less people too. I think that's the issue with Steel Rock. Is like I like the concept, but having 24 players for each team.
There's no planning or strategy that really works out too well there.
And then the queue times just are really long because you have to wait for so many people, and then some people like, oh, dinner's ready, gotta go, gotta leave this queue, and it's just.
I was hoping that they would abolish that by now, but they
what caused that as well.
Yeah,
it's pretty insane.
Exactly.
Wait, is that the case in the feast? Have they mentioned yes or no?
No, there's no way. That would be suicidal.
No GCs. They're actually looking to get rid of that for frontlines, though. It is on the table.
Good.
It needs to be. So, getting back to race just real quick, with how long it's taking world first groups to actually clear this content, does that kind of concern you with how difficult it's going to be? Because you both, like, Mary, you got burned out on A3S, right? And then MiLo, that's around the same time you start getting to A4S and you were just burnt out on that. Are you guys worried that the content's going to kind of repeat in that same, like, holy crap, Savage is so difficult that it's not going to be fun anymore?
Do you want to go first?
I probably need a little bit of time to think. So if you have anything to say, please go ahead.
Sure. I think that I need time too.
Okay, I'll talk about it a little bit. You guys take your time. How about this? So I've been following the World First stuff because I was excited. Like, this is a new race. All these people that I've had on the show, MiLo, Layla, Creator, like all these people came on and they're excited for this content. They're like, I finally have something that I could be really passionate about going out and doing, and it's competitive, and I can go out and try to clear this content. And so I was expecting to wake up Tuesday morning, first 2 turns cleared, done, right? But it took about half the day for the first clear. I was like, okay, well it's a little bit longer than it took like originally with the last set of content. And then I didn't hear anything about A7S. I was like, guys, you're in there, right? You're doing stuff. You're trying to clear it, and of course, you can't really release any details. But then the details I was getting was like, fuck A7S or 6S. Yeah, fuck it, screw it. I hate this. This is stupid. And then like I'd see all these angry posts about how A6S just is horrible. And the main reason people were saying that is because there's a bug or there's a glitch in it that's making it hard to actually plan a realistic strategy, because it's not there's supposed to be a strategy around it that they can do, but it doesn't work because there's a bug or a glitch. And I haven't gone into too much detail with it because they haven't really released too much on it yet.
Yeah.
And then that took a lot longer than I thought it would. And I'm hoping that it was just the glitch that was holding people back. It wasn't actually the level of difficulty in the content. Because if it was that hard for people who clear this content as world first groups rating 18 hours, 16 hours a day, and doing nothing but focusing on super skilled players, and it takes them this long to clear it, I'm not going to clear this content before the next patch, or before like 3.4. It's going to be insanely difficult. And so it's been a really crazy situation for me to hear all this stuff happening. And then going into A7, and if they don't clear it for the next 3 weeks, I'm concerned with how long it's going to take me to clear it.
That's a good point.
So that's how I'm relating what's happening right now with World First Progression to me. And so that's why I'm kind of freaked out, because my group, it raids twice a week seriously. And then we have like off days where we kind of just get whoever is available to come in and do stuff. But if we raid twice a week, we are not going to clear this content in time compared to these people who already invested hundreds of hours into it. So anyway, sorry, that's my piece. So are you guys concerned as I am concerned? And Mary, do you want to go first, or have you figured it out, man?
Okay. Yeah. So the way I kind of like see it is, I mean, one, obviously it's brand new mechanics, got to learn them. And I feel like maybe if this glitch wasn't there, they might have cleared a little bit faster. And as long as like 7 and 8 don't wind up like 3, where it's like the leading group stuck on it for like a week or more, or however long it was. It was a really long time as far as World First is concerned. As long as I feel like that does not happen again, where we have this period where it's been like a week and nobody's cleared it yet. All these World Firsters have not cleared it. I think we might be in a better spot, because people did get through, 1 and 2 pretty quickly, and then everyone hit 3, and that's the one that the World Firsters had trouble with, and everyone just was like, I'm done. I can't do this. I'm not, this is insane. And as long as we don't have a turn like that that's so brutal and like turns so many people away, I think it might be, a little more feasible for everyone to get through before the patch is over. At least like the sort of like mid-tier hardcore raiders.
Okay. So. MiLo? I see a lot in chat, by the way, saying that it could be just as an unknown mechanic, and it's people haven't really figured out how to work around it yet, and it looks like a bug, but maybe it's not. But it kind of seems like it's a bug from what I've heard from just so many people saying, that it was a bug, but of course that hasn't been confirmed by Square Enix that it was. MiLo?
Yeah. We'll see. It really is hard to say, because if we're following the trend, if we want to compare this to Turn 13, which, again, I'm trying to go through, I don't have the exact quote with me, but I believe it either straight up said or implied that this turn, or this tier, was supposed to be similar in difficulty to Final Coil of Bahamut, so turns 10 through 13. If we're following that same pattern, then this is going slower. By the time, and obviously, guys, I'm like kind of generalizing, because we're dealing with hours and minutes for kills and stuff. But in general terms, at this point in 2.4, the third encounter had been killed. And so if that happens, like let's say if like today or tomorrow the third encounter is killed, and then maybe it takes like a week or a little bit more for the final encounter to be cleared and this is again by the super hardcore groups, then I think that's a good sign for the rest of us.
Okay.
Because my experience with Final Coil was not like super hardcore, but pretty serious raid group, and but from everything else I heard, even for people who weren't playing a lot of hours, it was completely possible to get through Final Coil gradually. Like it wasn't too difficult, and it wouldn't just absolutely drive people insane like the last two encounters of Gordia Savage. So we'll see. I think the next 2 days or the next maybe 3 or 4 days will say a lot about it, about the difficulty and whether or not they correctly tuned these encounters for the general public. And yeah, I think it might be okay to use Final Coil as a reference point, just comparing dates and times of when things are killed, since it seemed to work out well for everyone.
Yeah. All right. We'll see. Maybe by next show, if they haven't cleared it by then, I might start to sweat a little bit.
Next week, yeah, definitely should do a follow-up on this next week and sort of see what's going on, or yeah, maybe speak with someone. Or
I can't wait to get these guys on the show to talk about this tier.
That might. I'm sure they can't do it until after they're all done. But once
after they're done and like a good handful of people are done, then they're in the clear. But you got to wait a little bit to give everyone a chance to figure it out on their own. But yeah, and I'm definitely still seeing mixed stuff in there. Creator, who's past that, says he definitely thinks it's a bug. We'll see. We'll definitely see. I can't wait to hear Square Enix's reaction to it, and we'll know in the patch notes. I'm sure if it's a bug, we'll see something in the notes coming this Tuesday, Monday night. Okay, so I guess the other question is with Sephiroth Extreme being in there, and you've already cleared it, MiLo. I haven't cleared it yet. We're getting close to getting to that point of clearing it. Do you feel like that they've implemented that completely correctly? Because it's really not a mechanically challenging fight, to be honest. Like you could go in there and learn that stuff a lot. Like Thoradin was like mechanics, and it just kept building. That one is like a little bit different. It's definitely has a healing. You have to be on like your toes for healing on that.
It's in general, my thoughts on it are very positive. It is reminiscent, and I heard a whisper about this, could be just a total like made-up story or rumor, that this fight has some connection to Titan Extreme in terms of the developer or the mastermind.
I think so, yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Because it's very reminiscent of Titan Extreme, which in the 2.x series was like one of my top 3 like favorite encounters of all time. And the reason why it's good, first of all, yes, it is, in my opinion, very healing intense. It's the most taxing on the healers, and since I've only done it as a scholar, I can only speak to that perspective. But what I like about Sephiroth Extreme is that there's a little bit of RNG to keep things kind of fresh, but it's not really overwhelming. Some people, depending on who you ask, might even suggest there should be more RNG, but I think for content that's meant to be done not by like super serious players, less RNG is better. And instead, this fight focuses on just very crisp movement, and and for healers like GCD usage. I mean, at least at this gear level, as a healer, you pretty much cannot relax for a single GCD. Except for that one part.
There's a couple of segments in there. Like
there's one segment where you literally don't have to heal for like 45 seconds, but other than that, yeah. But yeah, as Kazuma said, it's very reminiscent of like Titan and T13. It's very movement based. The mechanics are all, rather predictable once you know what to do, and then just a little RNG to keep it fresh.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have to agree. It's very reminiscent of Titan. Very, very, very fun. There is a level of excitement in terms of like the boss you're actually fighting. I think I want to say that the concept of having the boss like hanging off the edge of the arena, I've seen this in other MMOs, but I guess Leviathan sort of is like that as well.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
But where the what you're fighting does not take up space on the arena, I think that's a really cool concept as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all good, really good.
It was really refreshing for me. And Mary, you said this is one of the, if you're going to get back into raiding, this is one of the things that you want to start doing, right?
Yep.
Have you touched it at all in Extreme, or has it all been
normal? Yeah.
Normal is still pretty fun, and I think it adds a lot to it. I really think all the normal content was done, even though it's easy, it was done in a way that was enjoyable.
Yeah,
and so
absolutely.
was like the casual dungeons. All the 8-man stuff, all of it was added in the same kind of mindset of if it's going to be easy, at least let it be fun.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, a joy to watch. Like Sephiroth, like the mechanics are just like they're fun to perform, even though they're pretty simple in normal mode. It's just fun. It's just like you're doing all this crazy stuff and all this stuff is happening. It's just cool, and it's just the music's great. Like it's a really hype fight.
So do you guys want to talk about the music a little bit?
Oh, sure.
Yes.
Okay. So let's go ahead and just discuss the controversy that has come in with Sephiroth. MiLo, you've kept up with the controversy with the music on it?
I mean, I've seen some things on like Twitter and stuff, which I assume is like a joke about it, but I don't. It went over.
It was some serious stuff. Like people,
Yeah.
Good old Power Man 5000 came out and they were pissed.
Were the lyrics dark?
I mean, to be honest, okay, so I went first into the fight. I'm like, this sounds exactly like a song that I used to know, which is the Worlds Collide song. And I remembered it completely. Maybe that's because that's the only like.
Oh, this.
Yeah, and so I thought that this was something that was it was a tribute or something to it. But I didn't hear a lot of industrial hardcore like rock, I guess, in my time, so I didn't really be able to relate it to much else besides that. I mean, that's one of the most popular industrial songs I think that's out there is the Worlds Collide song, right?
Yeah.
And so it's easy to compare that. And then finding out that when they made the song, they didn't even know that song existed.
Yeah.
Kind of shot down that whole like controversy immediately. I don't know. What did
So people thought it was like the Vanilla Ice and Queen thing where he like stole it, but in this case they actually just had no idea and it just is similar.
Yeah. I feel like just the genre in general, so like industrial metal and stuff like that. Like there's kind of like just there's a sound to it, and there's a lot of other like as people were saying like DMC, Devil May Cry, I'm pretty sure has a lot of songs that have almost the exact same like guitar riffs and bass line, all that stuff too. And it's like it's not necessarily something like new, or it's not something unique just to Power Man 5000. Like other people have done it. It's just kind of like something that kind of fits the genre of industrial metal, and so it's not really surprising that Soken pulled influence from that. So
yeah, and that makes perfect sense to me as well. I mean, the only comparison that people also is making that similar to this is like the Moogle song, right? Mog X.
Yeah.
And then you're comparing that to It's Halloween from The Nightmare Before Christmas, right? And so those are similar. I don't know if it was actually, I don't know the story behind that, but I wouldn't be upset that he was like, oh man, this song's really cool. I'm going to be inspired to use something that's similar to this song to something that's in a game. And I don't know. I don't know if there was even remotely as much of a controversy with that whole setup as there was with this, because I don't remember anything.
I don't think at all with that one. Yeah. And I mean, as you said, like it's honestly like unless you're directly like ripping the song and the lyrics and everything, like anything like that, like that's kind of shady. But if you're just like paying homage to a song, like that's more like they should be honored more than like upset. Like this person thought your stuff was so good that they wanted to emulate it. Like flattery, or said it backwards. Imitation is the greatest form of flattery. So it's like
and I mean like those people get more coverage for it because of that, and then we get a decent song for the game, and no one's really up. I don't know. The copyright laws and all that stuff. I don't even want to even think about it. But okay, so that all happened, and then going through a lot of the different the music going into Midas, a lot of it was the same, right, as the last one. I was really disappointed with the music going through that most part because I was like, oh man, this is real. I was hoping for something fresh, but did they do that in Coil? Like, did they pretty much had the same songs for most of the fights, right?
Except for when you got
to the last one.
Yeah, the last turn always had something unique. In fact, for turn 9, the song was the same song without lyrics from 1.0, because we had that same fight in 1.0 essentially. It's a little different, obviously, but and then turn 12 and 13 also had both unique ones. But for the most part, most of the turns had just like a basic Coil theme. Yeah.
Yeah, and so. I guess it makes sense. I can't be that upset because that's not like they're going off some lazy way of doing it. It's just the same way that they have been doing it. And then they just mix it all up at the very end with that song, and that I don't know why is Soken a genius when it comes to that? Like, that fit perfectly because it's a silly story. Like, no one cares about the story. No one's invested in it. So everything in there was just completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Your Justice that's, like, formed by other robots, and he's running around, and he's saying, like, these crazy... What was some of the fight moves he was using that was... Double rocket punch? Was that one?
Dude, yeah. Oh, man. It's so good. It's actually so good.
Yeah. And I feel like I'm just going into like a 80s like anime that was just like going crazy or something, like Lupin the Third or something like that. And just like all of a sudden you're just like, all right, time to go crazy and have fun. And you have things ice skating around there. Right?
Man, it's like, it was great. Oh, it's awesome.
And so they really hit the mark on the music here with those. And God, I'm trying to remember. I've only been in Anti-Tower once, but the music was pretty good. I remember it being kind of relaxing and everything. Like
Very relaxing, yeah.
So, thank you, Soken, again, for doing an excellent job with the music. I'm always inspired. I don't think I actually met him when I went to FanFest. I met a couple other people at FanFest, but I didn't meet him. I was kind of disappointed. I'll make an effort this time, guys.
Oh, yeah. Soken is incredible. He's one of my favorite composers for video games these days.
Oh, yeah, and he has a great personality with some of the panels that he was on. But okay. That's just quick on music. Let's go into one of the last kind of points before I get into a little bit more here. How do you guys... Interactivity between the different players in a game was very low for this patch, I think. I felt like it was like, I'll kind of hang out. We'll do so. Let's try to do... screw it. I don't want to play. I'm going to raid log. All right? And then you come into this patch. There's people everywhere talking about everything, and it just... going out there, playing with other people, and the mentor system, I will say that it has added more interactivity between the players because they actually have another method of talking to people. And so, do you guys feel like coming into the game that it feels like an MMO? People are out there mingling and doing stuff, or has that not really changed at all for you guys?
Well, I'm a bit biased because Balmung's always been, a really populated server, so there's always people around. But since the patch, it's just been ridiculous. There's been so many people to a point where, like, I'll be running through Ul'dah, and there's so many people that people are, like, phasing in and out of, out of view because there's just too many characters on the screen. And it's just everyone's talking and shouting in chat, and Idleshire is just full of people. Everyone's running around. The open world seems really busy right now. Like, it's really lively. And while some of the content doesn't necessarily, like, facilitate... really doing much outside of, or pugging outside of, Alexander or normal and the dungeons. It just, everything just feels more alive, essentially. People are talking again. It's not just quiet. People aren't just standing idle in Idleshire.
Hey.
MiLo, has it been kind of the same for you, man? Do you feel like you have a good connection with everybody?
Kind of, in a way. I mean, I actually have always been more of like a solitary player, at least in Final Fantasy XIV. But that's of my own play style. But it is without a doubt the game is feeling more lively, especially Idleshire. There's actually people there. I still feel like throughout, at least in 2.0 and 3.0, I feel like they never really nailed the feel of a true player hub in the way that for anyone who have played like Final Fantasy 11, the way Juno was, and then subsequently Whitegate, like a player, like they never really found a way to force players to congregate in like a city or like just like a hub atmosphere. I mean, Idleshire kind of is like that, but the layout is like asymmetrical and it's like outdoors and it just doesn't feel, maybe that's just my bias. But Idleshire, at least, there's people there again. Party finders have been very lively, due in large part to the new mounts included in the primals, which I think is fantastic.
Been actually the most active thing I've seen is mount farms right now. Everyone wants to pigeon, right?
Yeah, they want those pigeons, man. It's good. But I mean, I can't speak so much because I tend to play by myself a little bit. And honestly, what you mentioned earlier about cross-realm play, I really wish they would bring that in because my situation is a little bit different. And honestly, most of pretty much all the close friends I've made in Final Fantasy XIV have been through Twitch, and as a result, almost none of them have ever actually been on the same server as me.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which again, like to mention why when I was able to Duty Finder turn 13 was such an exciting experience. Because I actually got a chance to do like interesting content with people who I didn't have a chance to play with before. But yeah, in terms of on a server by server basis, I think Diablos is relatively high pop. I'm not sure, but I think it is similar to Balmung.
Yeah.
But yeah, everything seems good, man. People are excited again, and that's the most important thing. And as Cosmo mentioned too, I don't craft, but I can imagine being a crafter right now is you're probably getting a lot of player interaction if you're a crafter.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Without a doubt, man. And like, do you guys think that's going to sustain? Like, is there enough content out there for this stuff? Like, people to stay in the game until the next patch comes out where they get more content?
I'd say so. I think we're doing okay. We're doing a lot better than we were. And now that I think the biggest issue with 3.0 was the fact that we had a 6-month wait and then a 3-month wait between the patches. Like that was absolutely brutal. And now we're back on the 3-month schedule. I think that's really going to help keep things more alive.
Yeah, it's definitely looking like it. You kind of on the same board there, Mr. MiLo?
Yeah, it really is even a little bit hard to recall the days when a compelling patch came out every 3 months because it's been a while since that was the case. And really, the gap between 3 and 6 months, it's just in a game where people are playing monthly subscriptions, it has to be this way, in my opinion.
Oh,
and yeah, I think there's enough packed in here to make it work.
Okay. So I guess the last thoughts that I want to have kind of on this discussion is what really keeps you guys playing the game, just staying in there saying, I want to log in every single day and do stuff? Is there like one thing, or is it a mix of like 1,000 different things? Mary?
Honestly, this is going to sound probably a little cheesy, but my friends. It's always been about my friends. All throughout 1.0, like what really kept me around was my friends. In fact, I met people in 1.0, and actually at that point in my life, I was kind of in a rough spot. And I was going to wind up without a place to live. Like it was pretty rough. And against, all odds, the fact that I met a single person one day randomly, like completely changed my life. They're like, hey, I know this person who's looking for roommates. I wound up moving halfway across the country. I moved in with them. And they've become my best friends, my family. We're all in the same free company together. We've all been playing together. And it's insane that, such a big impact in my life came from the fact that I met a single person in an MMO. And so every day I log in, it's basically like I'm just there to have fun with my friends. And even if there isn't like a lot of content to do, we make our own fun by just doing silly things like man mode, where we go all warrior into a dungeon and try and do it, stuff like that. Like it's all about my friends.
That's awesome, man. MiLo, you don't care about people, right? You don't care about friends.
Well, no, it kind of is the same similar story to Mary, just that, like, in all honesty, it's mostly due to the people that I met through Twitch TV have become sort of my close friends in that regard. I've met some really awesome people in game throughout the years. I've also transferred servers a couple times, so it makes that more difficult. And most of my pretty much none of my friends from real life or from past games played this game, so it kind of is a little bit similar to Mary's story in my experience with that, with people from Twitch for Final Fantasy XIV. Is like when I started playing this, when 2.0 came out, and when I started streaming, it was actually in a really dark time of my life, very, very dark time. And it started off as I played the game as a form of escape, as I think many people do. And then subsequently, when the Twitch channel was created, it was sort of in the same time, and through that I met like so many fantastic people that that's been kind of the motivation, and it's a way that I can interact and hang out and just speak with all of them through this game. And to be honest, like in that regard, the game is kind of secondary. It's just sort of, it would be like if you went out with some buddies to go get a drink at like a sports bar. you have like a pitcher of Bud Light, and you're not taking like, oh, I'm really admiring the hoppy texture and the rich oak barrel notes. Like you don't like the beer isn't the actual like reason you're there. That's secondary. The main reason you're there is the people, and that's how that's the relationship between Final Fantasy and like Twitch and me sort of exists. To put it plainly, I still enjoy the game, of course, or else I wouldn't play. But it is kind of secondary, at least for me.
Okay. Well,
and
then
it seems kind of like what Mary's saying too, right? How like for him, it's like the game is just the means to the end, which is ultimately just spending time with friends. So yeah.
No, I'm with you guys. This is not with Final Fantasy, but with WoW. Like I was playing it, and I was at this point where I was going through a lot of changes in my life too. And I started raiding with a guild. I got levels. This was in Burning Crusade. I got level 60. And then I met a couple of people who were playing the game, and I got more involved with them. And I was just talking, and like I would sometimes wake up or be up really late at night, like 2 a.m. I'm like just sitting there with one person just talking about random life things and just getting into these deep conversations with some random person I knew, but I've never seen him. I just understood him as a person in the game. And so, you start to feel a lot closer to these people, and they become really good friends. And I did that for 7 years in a row. And I was playing, and I was raiding and doing stuff with them. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to spend a week out here and go visit all my friends who live kind of in the same area. They were all in the same, where I'm living now. And so I met these people on the internet, random people that I never thought that I would ever get this close to. And they became great friends, and I moved into the same area that they're living, and I have them as just my normal day-to-day friends now. And I think that's really, really crazy, and not everyone gets blessed with that kind. I say blessed as if like I'm remotely even religious, but
figuratively.
Figuratively, like so it's really interesting to see that this happened to me, and I hope that other people can kind of go into these similar situations. Be careful, of course. Someone might be crazy, but I lucked out, and I'm really happy that I was able to do that. I don't play games with them as much now because I couldn't get them in the Final Fantasy. But
same thing happened with me, pretty much to a T.
Yeah,
it's okay.
It's all right. I'm still having fun, and everyone here that has come to this show and talked to me, all the people who are in chat right now, all the friends I've made in the game that I've been able to talk to, and then having something to do with Kerr all the time. This game has really been about the people around the game and not exactly the game itself. Just all of us being nostalgia, or being infected with nostalgia, and just enjoying playing an MMO. It's not like it's an outstanding, super fantastic, best MMO that could ever be created, but it's a good game that I can play with friends and be happy when I'm playing with it. But anyways, it's kind of weird that I'm going to have this follow-up question that doesn't seem like it's completely related. But do you guys think you're going to get bored of this patch right now? Or do you think there's like a time limit on it? Like there's going to be a point to you're like, this is played out. It's been a month. I'm done with this. There's no more content that I even want to do.
No, for me, like every day is, it's essentially a new adventure. Like there's something new to do, some new experience to have with my friends. And since I'm doing like the full-time streaming, like every stream night, like sometimes we'll do coil like 3 nights in a row, or we'll do coil and like pony farming and stuff like that. But it's always something new, new things are happening, funny things are happening. We're making memories, all this cool stuff. Like it's just, I don't think I'm ever going to get bored of this game no matter what content, because it's not so much the content as it is like the people I'm doing it with that like make it worthwhile for me.
Okay, MiLo, it could be a little bit different, I think. Murray, have you ever had a break from the game?
Honestly, other than the year break from 1.0 to 2.0, I've pretty much played this game, as my MMO.
Wow.
So
like every day you're just like, I can log on and play.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. MiLo, having the experiences you've had with the content so far, do you think that this patch has longevity to it, or is it going to hit a point to where...
For me, I think it really hinges on how involved people get in PvP. I get a sense that the Feast might have the ability to get people really involved, especially since there's a ranking system, which is such an arbitrary component to PvP. But if it makes people want to do it, then that's fine. That's good. Because, yeah, I mean, deep down at my heart, I really have always been really into PvP, not just in MMOs, but, I've been really into, like, Counter-Strike, Dota, League of Legends. Like, I like player versus player games. I find them very mentally stimulating and fun.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, the way it's been executed up until now in Final Fantasy hasn't been the greatest. Mary alluded earlier how, like, the actual gameplay, the interaction of character to character, something seems to be lost in translation in this game, but that's fine. It's not so much about that. It's about just people getting involved and just doing it. And if that happens, it's a good sign. If not, who knows? I'll keep playing until I feel like I've seen what I need to see and do what I need to do. And maybe take a little bit of a step back and come back for the next patch. It's hard to say, but definitely I've definitely put a fair share of my chips on the table for the feast.
Okay.
And I'm hoping to buy Grandma a new pair of shoes on that. So we'll see.
Yeah, MLG feast. Yeah.
MLG feast montage.
Yeah.
We'll see, man.
Yeah. Why not? I definitely think there's a lot more hope with this than there was with. I think in the 3.1, you're like, oh my god, this lasted me a week at most. But this, I feel like it's going to last me at least 3 months of solid just enjoying the content, then maybe having to be creative after the next few months until the next stuff comes out. I think that should be fine.
It's also nice to be able to gear out again, like having to actually progress your gear. My scholar was item level 210 for a long time. I had really good luck with drops, to be fair, but like I didn't actually need to improve my character for a long time. So that's refreshing as well, and that should take a little while.
Yeah, I agree. So guys, we have a lot of viewer questions. A lot of them have spawned since our last session here of asking questions, but we're gonna try to make it through all these questions here. Are you guys ready for them?
Absolutely.
Let's go.
And they might not all be related. They could be completely off the wall and not even close to the conversation we're talking about right now, but we'll see. Let's start this off with ENJOYYY King again. Question, how do you guys feel about the main scenario and the dungeons this patch, and how do you feel they compare to Stacked Up? Okay, we did that. That, right? Warven King, I hope you got your answer already to that one, because we definitely discussed that one, and I feel like we hit it right on the head. All right, okay. Let's go to Dat B Starter Oni. Frosty TV, do you think we need more Gold Saucer-esque activities in the game? So, I would say yes, but I can't imagine that it's going to go well. Gold Saucer has flopped pretty hard, especially with Lords of Verminion, and I feel like doing any kind of follow-up that's even remotely serious as and in-depth as Lord of Vermilion was is going to be like a death sentence. In the end, they should probably go for something, if they went for like snowboarding, let's say they went for snowboarding, make it simple. Make it something that's not too crazy or out there, something that takes a little bit of skill to do it, but not like a lot of knowledge about what it is. And we might see something like that in 3.3. I'm guessing they're going to try to put some more additions to it, but it's not necessary to make people... Like, what they have in 3.2 is what they need in the game. And I think that holds pretty solid for releasing content going forward. MiLo, what's your thoughts on it, man?
Yeah, I've been thinking about it right now. I think the issue... well, just now, I'm trying to think if something similar to Gold Saucer has ever been done in an MMO. To my knowledge, or at least the ones that I've played, has not happened, right?
Yeah, it's not like a
a mini game zone, right?
Yeah,
it's not really happened. I think like people are mentioning about Blitzball from Final Fantasy X, or of course Gold Saucer is a representative of Final Fantasy VII. I'm trying to think. I'm just thinking off the cuff here, but I just get the sense that a sort of mini game zone. It just kind of conflicts with the general direction and point of an MMORPG, which is to like develop your character, and also I think they did not add any story component to Gold Saucer, because in Final Fantasy VII, like that was just a part of the adventure which you had to go through. You did all the shit there, and then there was the And also, they managed to make chocobo racing in that game have a very, very important reward that was pertinent to your progression of the game, which made you want to do it. Um, that's not the case in that's not the case in Final Fantasy 14. I just get the sense that like there's a conflict of interest, and they just thought like, hey, people love Final Fantasy 7 and Gold Saucer. A lot of people who play that game play Final Fantasy 14. It must work. And I think we all found out that wasn't necessarily the case. And yeah, if they were to do something like for you to be able to get like an item level 240 weapon from doing Gold Saucer things, people would be infuriated because it's just not like there's no golden chocobo equivalent in an MMO, if that makes sense. I just think it's a little bit of a clash of
they could make it like to where you can do barding and have a golden chocobo. Why not? All right.
I mean, that would be sick, I guess.
Yeah.
And I guess some people still do it for the Turtle Mountain stuff, but
yeah,
not really.
Yeah. I'm almost at 1 million MGP right now. I'm going to buy the cloud card and be like the one guy who had 1 million MGP and just burnt it on something that people can't see until they play a game that they don't want to play. I'm so excited to do that. Okay, Marriott, what are your thoughts on Gold Saucer? Like negative, positive? Should they add more stuff?
I think how they've handled Gold Saucer so far, they lay down really like decent foundation, but they don't build on it. Like with the chocobo racing, I actually kind of like it. It's kind of fun. I've done it on my stream sometimes, and we have a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. But like there just isn't enough to it. Like the racing the chocobo, that's cool. But the racing itself is really straightforward, and it's also really imbalanced too. Because like if you have someone who has like a rank 50 chocobo with all these skills, and someone with like a rank 1 chocobo, like that rank 50 is just going to annihilate them every single time. Right. And so it'd be nice if they had some way to like normalize your chocobo for like party play with friends and stuff, and maybe had some more items, maybe like a shell where you could shoot it like in Mario Kart and it bounces around, Find a way to do something like that to really spice it up a little bit. But like the foundation is good, but it's just not there. Yeah. And then like same with Verminion, like it's good, but there just isn't enough to it to like really make it worthwhile for me anyways. Like it's just, you just kind of do it, you get a little MGP, that's it, and so I feel like if they worked at it casually and slowly and focused more on other areas of the game, but eventually like kind of built on the foundations they've already laid, that content might become a little more sustainable and relevant, just a little bit.
Okay. And I didn't want to interrupt you or anything, but your upload was doing something funky there for a little bit, and you turned into a robot for half a second. But I think it might be stabilizing. It might be
okay.
Yeah, it's all right as long as you're not seeding.
No.
Don't be seeding right now.
Of course not.
Okay. Okay, this is kind of a funny question. Dr. Swish, what next animal do you guys want to see, like a cat and like cat mechanics in A7? Like, I guess I'm trying to understand that question completely. And so, have we seen animals like really active in the game besides that one cat?
I don't think so. Not really.
I mean, I guess the only other thing that we would want to see is like, I don't know. I don't think about that stuff, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm trying. Didn't Kate Sith make an appearance in this game?
Yeah, in Void Art.
Yeah.
Briefly.
I don't know.
That's a kind of a wild question. I guess Teppo brought up you can transform into a gorilla in turn 5 or
yeah,
4
that's
5.
True.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think they do well with their animals. Appearances in the game, it's balancing up. I don't think they need to add it or
question. Such a mysterious question. I'm not sure what to even make of it.
Mary, do you have a solid answer for it?
I mean, the gorilla is cool.
Yeah. Then we saw a gorilla in Hullbreaker, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true.
Had to feed him bananas. Okay. So let's see. Let me. Okay. Warven King, if you all were members of the development team, what would you guys like to implement to motivate people to raid or participate in PvP? And you know what? I kind of skipped this. I'm going to go ahead and throw my opinion out here because I skipped this. I want to talk about this, and I stole this from Layla. So basically, Layla brought up a really good point. How, if you guys are familiar with WoW and how they did raiding in like Oldar and everything, they eventually got a point to where they gave you achievements for doing certain things in raid fights. And so if you accomplish something, you got an achievement and a title maybe for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, for example, A4S have it to where no one dies in a fight. Then you would get a title related to something with Nessie because you actually did the mechanic properly, which is a lot harder. Or get another title in there for various other things that you would do that would make the fight that much harder, but add in these extra challenges, which takes like literally like almost no work. You put a couple if-then statements in the coding to give the person the achievement, then give them a title or something. And then these hardcore raiders could be like, oh man, I was world first so-and-so with this achievement. And then give them a date and time next to it, and then I could prove I'm the first person on a server to be able to get something that was like this. And I thought that would be an awesome inspiration to keep people keep coming back, doing content, making it fun and enjoyable, because you're changing the content up for yourself in order to get these achievements. Do you guys think that would be a good idea?
Absolutely, yeah. You want to go first?
I don't have too much to say except, I mean, I can recall in World of Warcraft there were they had this system where you would be able to, like, if we put it in the context of Final Fantasy XIV, like if you did Midas Savage, there would be like some way you could handicap yourself to make the fight harder without them explicitly coming out with a new tier. It would be like for example, there would be like an option for and this is just hypothetical, like on floor 7, instead of there being like right now in normal mode, there's like 2 bowling balls that roll around. Maybe in Savage, I imagine there's more. Maybe there's a way to have like even more or something extra, like
flip
maybe
a switch to prevent like a ball from coming. But then again, maybe like, you don't flip switches.
Yeah, or maybe there's like just like. There's a certain mode you can like press a switch and the bowling balls leave like a fire trail. And of course, this is completely optional, but if you do it, it goes on like a list. And if you do all the like, do all the handy. Sorry, I got possessed real quick. If you do all the handicap versions or something, you get an achievement and a title or a mount or a glamour or something. Glory of the Blank Raider, you got a mount or something.
Yeah.
Like you said, Frosty, it's just a way for them to add content without much work. I think the dev team is still trying to figure that out. It seems like they always want to go they want to make everything so hard on themselves to add content, and they don't often go the route of just doing something easy, just make like cheap, easy content, but still it's content.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Mary,
I like it.
Do you have any additional thoughts?
Absolutely. I agree 100% with both of you. I think having like Glory of the Raider achievement kind of thing would be amazing for this game. Like I loved doing those back when I played Warcraft. Another thing I liked in Warcraft was that like that tier and like that tier of Glory of the Raider, like you had to do it when it was relevant. Otherwise, you couldn't do it anymore. And while some people hate that like exclusivity or whatever, like I think it's really good, you know, because it shows like, yeah, I did this. I did this when it was relevant. Actually, I was kind of upset as someone who cleared 4 out of 4 Savage Coil back when it was relevant. Going into Heavensward now, people can do those at 60 and just get the titles and cheese them, and like it kind of kills a bit of the meaning for the titles for me. I was hoping they would make it so you had to like level sync down to 50, but and it's like I like having like proof of, you know, yeah, I accomplished this, and so it'd be cool if they did that with like achievements and titles for the raid tiers.
Yeah. All right. Well, there we go. Hope that answered the question there. Okay. This is probably a simple question that you can answer, Mary. Ark was wondering, the healer chest and tank chest are in the same chest for High Allegan?
Well, so how the dieable ones work? As for the actual ones, the tank chest is T9, the healer one's T7. But for how the dieable works is it's a recipe. It's a 2-star recipe by, you know, Weaver or Leatherworker or Armorer. Except for the weapons, those are 3-star. But you get 2 Allegan Aether Stones. Each turn drops 3 every time you clear it. 2 of one type and 1 of another. It's random. But for example, the bodies for High Allegan drop in turn 9. So the body Aether Stones and the weapon Aether Stones drop in turn 9. I think the feet and the head drop in turn 6. The pants and the gloves in turn 7, and then turn 8 is the pants, gloves, legs, and feet, and then turn 9 is the body and the weapon.
Yeah. He also follow up. They look the same. Do they look the same?
They look the exact same, but you can dye them.
Oh, okay.
And the weapons, like the glow on the weapons, does dye. So like I have my high elegant, I have my high elegant battle axe dyed silver. So like the axe is silver, but the white is like pure white, or the glow is pure white. So like it looks really cool.
Wow.
All right. Okay, so let's see if I can get some other questions here. Warven King, do you all feel that the Hall of the Novice? Have you guys done Hall of the Novice, by the way, at all?
A little bit.
I've done it. I've done the healer one. It was pretty brainless, but maybe it tells people you have to do certain things like avoid AoEs and heal people. And so he asked, do you feel that the Hall of the Novice and the mentor system will raise the quality of gameplay in the community? If not, do you think that it needs to be improved at all? So do you think that you guys don't have a lot of experience with the functions with it, so it's kind of hard to answer. MiLo, it's hard for you to answer that, I would assume, right?
Yeah, I have no opinion of it.
Yeah. Going off the healer part, I would say that it would say blatantly, yes, avoid AoEs, and yes, heal people while avoiding AoEs is kind of what I learned from the healer part. And I think that people need to know that they're going to be challenged sometimes to move around and do other things. Mm-hmm. So that raises the expectations maybe to some players who aren't familiar with MMOs. But I can't really... I think the mentor system is going to help a lot simply because any question... And also, I forgot to tell you, the mentor system also turned into Sprouts asking for people to join parties and help them clear stuff. So... It's been kind of a funny situation with that. But yeah, I would say it helps out a lot with that. Mary, with your experiences so far, do you think that players are actually going to improve with this, or if it's like kind of useless?
I think it's good for people who are like brand new to MMOs. With 14 specifically, I guess the healer one teaches you like, hey, it's okay to DPS when you don't have to heal. And I think that's really important because there's so many healers that they just sit there and they don't do anything except for heal. Like, you're taking like so much damage as a tank, and like maybe I'm at full HP and I'm keeping myself up there with my inner beast and my, second wind and thrill of battle and stuff. And it's like the healer's just standing there. They're just standing there with a stick. Like, what are you doing? You can like throw out a stone or a bio, you don't have to just stand there. And they kind of say, hey, you should DPS. So maybe that'll kind of help some new healers understand like, hey, I can attack when I don't have to heal.
The novice thing explicitly tells you that?
Apparently, yeah. I think one of the like tiers, the challenges, it's like you can attack when you're not healing, when you don't have to heal.
That is awesome. That's fantastic.
Yeah. But it also says, make sure you're paying attention to healing and don't just attack too. I think it's another statement that it said on there. Okay, so Zolia, how do you guys feel about Yoshi's comment about Astro during the patch note reading? And I actually didn't hear his comment about Astro. Yeah. Did you guys hear it?
No, I'm not sure.
If someone in chat can kind of familiarize us with what he said about Astro, and I'd be happy to give an opinion on that. But so let's jump to the next question real quick while we're waiting on that. Scarlet Yammy, which I think you're familiar with, right? Here, Mary? Yeah?
One of my mods.
Yep. Should people have to keep referring to the patch notes every time just to know where to unlock things? Add in-game posts or news. Do you think that they should add in like some sort of way for players to know in the game without actually reading the patch notes where they need to go?
Actually, I think World of Warcraft did this well with their recent like expansions. They have that kind of like a quest board in Stormwind and stuff like that, where like it says, hey, go here to unlock, Hyjal or whatever, or go here to do this. Like, I think that's nice. So it's like you have like this board, you can click it, it'll show you like, hey, you can do this to get started on this. Like, that's really helpful, and it kind of cuts down on having to constantly be alt-tabbing, like, oh, where do I unlock this? Where do I unlock that?
I gotcha. That makes sense. And I actually watched this video recently. It got popular on Reddit or something, explaining simple things like how doors are badly designed if you have to put push or pull on the door, right? And so if you have to actually explain how to use the door, it's a bad design on how to use the door.
Oh, I see.
And so, for example, if you walk up to a door, you shouldn't have to. You should just instinctively just say, "Hey, I'm pushing the door," and because there's no handle. If you just have a metal panel, what are you going to do? You're going to push the door. You don't have to put a handle on a push door, all right? And it's the same thing if you put a handle on there, you're pulling at the door if you don't read something like that. And people get really angry. They're like, I fail at something as simple as opening a door. Yeah. And so applying those concepts to the game is definitely something that should be done. It's not something that's extremely easy to do because we're dealing with like millions of human beings. We're not dealing with like a handful of people. So it would be kind of interesting if they could make the game designed in a way to where you log in after a patch and you kind of just really know where you need to go. There's things around the game that explain it to you, but that's hard. You just have to find a good way to do that to where no matter where people are, no matter whatever's going in the game, they know what to do. And I think that pop-up about the play guide could have been used as like a maybe unlock here kind of list or something instead of a pop-up for play guide. But definitely. MiLo, do you have any additional thoughts on that?
No, not really. I think you guys pretty much nailed it there. But the comment about the astrologians was revealed by Ultimate Power. He said, paraphrasing, that they basically can't make a replacement for Scholar, and they're not even going to try.
Oh, really? So basically, Astro's not a replacement for Scholar. People shouldn't think that, and they're not even going to try to take it in that direction.
According to Ultimate Power, that was the gist of what was.
So every group should have an Astro in it. It's basically, or not Astro, Scholar is basically this how people are going to be taking that, right? Because you can't replace Scholar. Does that mean like I don't know how that really should be taken?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Everest mentioned like Astro is just its own thing. It's not supposed to replace Scholar.
It's supposed to be just like a separate thing. Like, if you want a Scholar in your group, get a Scholar. But, you know, if you don't want one, just get an Astro or a White Mage and just run with that instead. It'll be different. It won't be the same thing as having a Scholar in there, but...
Yeah. It's interesting. I wonder if people have ever experimented with not having a Scholar. It seems like they're too... On, like, progression or, like, hard rating. It's interesting. They seem, like, too good.
Yeah, we would probably do a White Mage Astro in our group if Kerr didn't want to do Astro at all. I probably would have gone Astro instead of Scholar, and just seen how that worked out. Because I like Noct. I think it's fun. I'm a hipster. I like to do what people don't like, and so running around and shielding people was kind of fun. And right now they have no mana issues. Astros have like literally no mana issues, so they're a lot of fun. But okay, so going on to Moose Raka. How do you guys feel about Alex minus normal mode compared to 1 through 4? I think we discussed that. Yeah, we kind of ran into that. We all kind of agreed that that's basically one of the best fights, or best way. Well, so we have two versions of normal. We have 1 through 4, and then we have 5 through 8. Those are the only normal. We can't really compare that to anything else. And they definitely destroyed it with this one. In comparison to the last one.
So good. It really is.
Yeah.
Biodane, how was the new Manderville questline and why was it massively underwhelming? I haven't done it. Have you guys done it?
Nope.
I haven't done it either, but people told me, one, it was really short. And other than that, I've heard the general sentiment not being very good about it, actually.
Yeah, I heard that's depressing.
I heard a lot about it. Like, it's basically like setting up the story for the next, like, you know, series of Manderville quests. So it's like getting like the ball rolling, and it's nothing, you know, super big. So hopefully the next, the next patch will.
And they really shouldn't do that kind of stuff. I mean, people do that in storytelling all the time, where they have just one big thing of setup so they can lead into something great later on. Yeah. But for example, if I'm watching a series of a show and someone's like, don't worry, the first 3 seasons suck, but the 2 seasons after that's great. I don't want to go through 3 seasons of horrible stuff to get to the next part. Make a quality thing. Don't set something up. Just make a good thing that can kind of set up the next part, but still has this good segment in between it.
Yeah.
But okay. So and he also said something about Nashu actually being mentally what was it? Clinically challenged. I mentally challenged clinically in some way. I actually deleted the comment. Let me get it back up here a second. Being clinically mentally challenged is what he said. I have no clue. I guess I'll find out. She probably is.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, and then there's another Hildy one, but I feel like I'm pretty bad for us to try to give our opinions on Hildy when we we don't have a lot of source material in that. I've been too busy with everything else. I've been so absorbed with all the other content that I don't know the answers to how the quality of all the other content is because I haven't had a chance to do it, and that's actually a pretty good thing after the first week. Let's see. We have another question about the Hall of Novices, apparently. So is there anything that the Gym Link wanted to know if there's anything that we feel that we need to add into the Hall of Novices that's not there currently? I only have experience with the healer part. I think if they added in maybe some kind of stuff, like it was not just level 15 stuff, but like as you start to, your job developed more.
Yeah.
Like you started to get into using your fairy, how to manage your fairy, right? Where it needs to go. And it needs to be not just healer specific, but like scholar. Like white mage basics, like astro basics, stuff like that. Not just, hey, you have to click physic until this guy has full health and avoid AoEs. That's really basic. But if they added in more layers to it to where you actually, as you were gaining abilities, you learned how these abilities actually affected the fights and why they mattered.
I think... I'm not sure if this is... I think maybe it's a little bit pertinent to... So just last night I unlocked... I didn't do it, but this new implementation called... I think it's called Stone, Sea, and Sky. I don't know exactly what it is. I heard it's just... Is it actually just a training dummy where you have to do enough damage to see if you pass like a fight?
Yep.
Yeah. There's no mechanics. Like you don't have to dodge stuff or anything. Because so again, it's so hard. I hate referencing World of Warcraft so much, but it's so hard not to. In their most recent expansion that came out, I think this was the first time they did it, maybe not. But in order to do some of the entry level raid content, or maybe not even, there was a way. If you were looking for a group, you could advertise. They had a series of challenges. It was like bronze, silver, and gold that you could do at max level, and these were only you zoned into this instance. And it was like basically they just threw a bunch of situations at you that you could only survive if you used your class extremely optimally. And this is for like the gold one. And then what that did was basically it was like a little badge or something you could put onto when you were looking for a party to say like, I did this, and as a result I have some idea of what to do in my class. I think it would not be a bad idea if they added that maybe at level 60. Maybe in some ways it clashes with what seems to be the philosophy of the game, that in like public parties it's not like they're trying to minimize ways for people to put one another down on their skills. But I mean, if they implemented something like if the Stone, Sea, and Sky thing was you have to kill a training dummy, but also they're throwing meteors and fire and earthquakes at you, like that, I think might be a step in the right direction for sure. Because if the level 15 tutorial is you're supposed to transition from like that to like Alexander Midas normal, it's a little bit of a jump, I think. Proving Grounds, Mirage said, so thank you.
Yeah,
and there is it did actually unlock content. I think the philosophy of Final Fantasy XIV, they wouldn't like force you to do that to unlock content, but maybe you could use it as like a badge of honor, show that you've done it.
Yeah, okay. Mary, do you have anything you want to add to it?
Yeah, I think adding on to what both you guys said, basically I think we should have like a Hall of the Novice, and then maybe at around 30 have like a Hall of the Intermediate. And then possibly around max level, a Hall of the Expert, where you just kind of like gradually like learn more, you know?
No,
I think that might work.
That would be a good fit in for that. Okay, so Optical has a question. This is completely unrelated to all that. I wonder how much you should tip a crafter. Because I generally used to follow the same rules as tipping a server, 20% if they were good with the service, 10% if they were mean. Do you guys know how much you need to be tipping crafters?
So I'm actually a 3-star armorer, and so I've been doing a little bit of crafting since the patch, making people some of the Algan stuff and myself. But honestly, it's kind of weird. So when I go to commission a piece of gear or whatever from another crafter, I usually tip pretty generously. Like I'll do 100K, maybe 200, for just a single craft. But when people come to me, I'm pretty just like, whatever you can swing. If it's 5K, 50K, 100K, that's whatever. I find myself like I don't really care, because ultimately, like, I put like 15 million gil into investing my armorer's melds and all that stuff. But I mean, I make Gil selling stuff on the market boards. Making a craft video takes me almost no effort unless I'm trying to HQ it. You don't really have to pay me too much. I feel kind of guilty taking a lot of money when it doesn't take me much effort,
Mm-hmm.
But not every person will agree.
Yeah, I think it's sort of like I haven't been crafting in this patch, but I have had to ask random people for melds. And I mean, I don't know, you kind of feel it out. I think you should just tip in a way that obviously first you can afford. And yeah, like Mary said, for people who are doing these sort of things, like they're gonna get theirs whether or not you throw them a tip. Like they'll be fine. I think it's more just a sign of appreciation on a sort of human to human level of like, hey, you went out of your way for me. I respect that. Here's something. But yeah, really, I think it's more just of a formality than like an actual equation that we need to deal with every time. I don't think it's that serious, really.
Okay. Very good. Let's see. Dark Moon Squall. Were there any mechanics in the new Alex that really stood out? And would you like to see them carried forward or even expanded upon? What mechanic do you think was absolutely terrible and they need to never touch again?
So my like straight up favorite mechanic that presented itself to me immediately was on floor 7. I don't know what people are calling them. I call them like the bowling balls or the Indiana
boulders,
Jones.
Yeah.
The Harrison Ford. Those things are crazy. I can't recall seeing a mechanic like that where you have these untargetable entities that are just altering the arena. So that's another thing too. One time I had an opportunity to speak with Layla and Chia, one of his raid members back in the day, about like I was asking their opinions about making better raid fights, and one of the sentiments was the arena itself, like where you fight the boss. And generally, in most MMOs, especially in this game, they've been really fond of the circle, and when they're feeling extra racy, a square. But I've always been a fan of this concept of like altering terrain. For anyone who might have played Dota, there was my all-time favorite hero was one who could basically he would throw down like in a straight line in front of him like this pillar of impassable terrain. It would essentially alter like the state of the map and how you could move and interact. Mm-hmm. And that's essentially what the bowling balls on floor 7 do. Is they dynamically alter the shape of the arena or the amount of land that's available for you. And I think that's an amazing mechanic. Not to mention, it's just wacky as hell and funny that there's just bowling balls rolling around trying to kill you. But on a more like technical level, they do alter the terrain in a unconventional way, and I think that's brilliant. Things that I wish they would never, ever, ever, ever do again is, I mean, pretty much every mechanic in floor 4, but specifically where they just arbitrarily toss two people in a fucking toilet bowl and make them fight an arbitrary NPC. Like, that was just horrible. It was so it was just so arbitrary is the only way I can describe it. It had no value, it had no emotional meaning. It was just it's random ass mechanic that you had to do for some reason. I hope they never bring that back. It was awful.
Okay. Very good. Mary?
I think I'm torn between my two favorite mechanics from Midas. I really like the raising and lowering platforms. I think that's kind of cool. Where you kind of have to like adjust, and like as a tank, I have to like make sure I have positionals like up top and down below. So it's like it's fun to position and all that stuff. So I like that one. I also really like in floor 3 for Midas the cages. We call them the rage cage. I think those are really cool, where they just kind of like pick people up. And we found out, if you're standing next to each other, you both get picked up, and like So I think that's really cool, and it's a unique mechanic we haven't really had. It's kind of similar to A4 a little bit, but it's a little bit different too.
Okay.
But I like that one. My least favorite, probably like the first whole half of Midas 4. As you have said, Frosty, it's just kind of like kind of boring and nothing's really happening before everything just explodes into craziness. But
right, yeah. I would say making that much of a slow startup makes that last part like that much better. But at the same time, again, I don't want to watch a series and have a really boring beginning for like 2 seasons. Like I want like it to be good, the build up to have something that I actually enjoy doing. Okay, so Mirage Fire comments on Machinist changes and how are Machinist 3.2 compared to Bards. I think it's been kind of generally stated right now that if you bring 2 casters, Bard's better. If you bring 2 melee, Machinist is better. It's not huge. It's not as huge as people were freaking out over, but it does make a difference in those situations. And Machinist, I haven't been able to play my Machinist enough to see. Really, I'm not as excited about the Machinist. Like, as a Machinist, you're not as excited about the Machinist changes as the people who are going to be running with you are excited about the Machinist changes. So you become one of these players that people want more. You're excited. For example, I'm excited when I see a Dragoon as a Machinist. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be like awesome. I'm going to be like a real DPS now. There's a Dragoon in the party. And now people are going to be excited when I joined the party as a Machinist because they're like, holy crap, I'm going to do so much more damage and I'm going to look so much cooler. Same thing with like kind of bringing in an Astro. You don't bring him in the past. You didn't bring him in for progression. You brought him in so you get higher numbers and you'd look cooler. So I think Machinist is kind of get into a more favored for at least melee. Melee is always going to want a Machinist in the party no matter what.
Yeah.
And do you guys play Machinist at all?
I have one. It was relatively geared. I played it kind of as like a third class, but yeah, I think the changes to Machinist were a step in the right direction. It's much nicer now. The procs, those are a lot easier to move into. I really like that change. And the turret change was definitely needed. The turrets were kind of underwhelming compared to Bard Songs, so right. I'm happy. It's a step in the right direction. They might need a little bit more, but for now, it's good.
Okay. MiLo, do you care about Machinist at all?
I mean, mine's I think in the level 40s, and I don't have one in my raid group, so I can't say much. But if everyone else is happy with it, then
if you guys are happy, I'm happy. Okay,
it's really the best I can come up with.
Teddy, Final Fantasy 14. What if you are a crafter and you're trying to craft someone's items with their mats, and you break it and lose the items? Does the crafter now owe the customer? Or is the customer just out of luck?
As a crafter myself, I'm of two minds. If I'm nervous about a craft, I will tell them, all right, listen, I can try this, but I cannot guarantee it. Are you okay with this? And if they're like, yeah, that's fine, then I go through with it. If it's something I'm confident in and I mess up and I break it, I always reimburse. So I basically if I'm not going to reimburse, I make sure it's very clear that, I might not be able to do this. It might break. Are you okay with this? And if they're not, then I say maybe find someone who's better than I am, because I'm not the best crafter.
That seems completely fair to me. I mean, my crafters are at level 20, so if I came to you and you told me, hey, there's a chance it's going to break, I'm okay. Well, that makes sense. I can't say anything against it. I see Milo's in agreement.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I mean, that's just how it is in reality too. If you're entrusting another party to do something for you that has a chance of failure, you have to sign like a legal document. And I guess a simple whisper is essentially a legal document in ENJOYYYY. But yeah, you got to just communicate about that. Yep. And if it's not explicitly stated like that, I mean, I haven't been in the crafting game for a while, but I mean, I think if Mary's choice to reimburse them is really generous. I don't think that's necessary. But really, I think the best way to go out just have a conversation about it and just be very clear what may or may not happen when you click that last touch.
Yeah. So. All right. So the Django, or just Django, I guess. 311982. Gotta make sure to get those numbers in there. On Diablos, and I'm a summoner and scholar at 45. What's the best way to optimize for both jobs in both raid dungeons and once they're both unlocked? I feel like that could be simply answered as in carry a lot of books if you're going to be jumping in between both of them to reset your abilities from mine to int, right? And the other way is just their standard optimization for gearing up any job in class is just trying to get good gear and going through. There's a couple of actually guides out there, by the way, that says this is an upgrade path. You do this dungeon until you get this gear, and then this dungeon until you get this gear, and you unlock this by doing this, right?
Yeah. Also, I think something what Django might be suggesting outside of that. When I read, I actually saw him post this question in chat. I thought about it a bit. Is so one thing I highly recommend, even though I actually don't. At level 60, I played, or level 50, I played Summoner a bit, and I enjoyed it. Level 60, the opening rotation was like really hard for me to get used to, and I just did other things. But really important thing to do if you're playing Summoner, if you plan to play Scholar and Summoner, in addition to what Frosty said, make sure your key bindings are the same for all the shared abilities on both jobs. If not, it's gonna be really uncomfortable for your brain to adjust. For example, like if you started off first as a Summoner, and just the way that the game naturally gave your spells, and you're on PC. This is PC. You're like 1, 2, 3, 4 keys are your damage spells. Like let's just say Bio 2, Miasma, Bio. Then you play Scholar, and the natural progression of the game, your first couple of abilities are like Physic, Adloquium, things like that, and then you just default assigns to like 1, 2, 3. I would not recommend that. I would, for example, my Summoner, my damage abilities are bound to Q, E, and R on Summoner and Scholar. And then for buttons like 1, 2, 3, 4, I use the abilities that are exclusive to each class. So like 1, 2, 3, 4 for Scholar, I use like the heals. If that makes sense. The shared abilities you want to make sure are the same key bindings for both jobs. So you're talking about like Ruin 2, Rouse, Shadow Flare, Bane, those sort of things. Just make sure you do that, or else you're gonna really regret it at max level.
Okay, that sounds like an excellent answer. I don't know if there's really too much to add to that.
Also, remember when you're playing Scholar that, especially if you're doing like dungeons, that Scholar's damage potential is extremely high. It's one of the reasons they're valued very, very highly in this game. So, and if you're in the leveling process, Django, you can work on both. Just throwing like a simple Bane on a pack of monsters in a dungeon is something I would recommend practicing now.
Yeah, getting the dots off and hitting Bane makes a huge difference in how fast you go through that dungeon.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so one of the last serious questions we have is, the Dangerous Box, is Machinist a hard class to play on a scale of 1 to 10? I'm just going to go ahead and tell you guys it's a 1 to me. It's like the easiest job I've ever played. I don't know if I just kind of jumped into it and it all just completely clicked and made sense. I would say for a lot of players out there, it might reach like a moderate difficulty, like at 5. But I can't see it being too difficult. It's super straightforward, I think. You line up a lot of cooldowns, and you try to keep those lined up. Just basic like DPS stuff. There's no like huge crazy things that go out there, except for procs. You kind of have to look at your keybinds for the procs. But I don't know. It doesn't feel any different than any other DPS I played. I'm looking at my keys, looking for those procs anyways. Okay, so let's go into some of these troll questions. And I'm sorry if you guys...
Really quickly before that, though, I feel like Mary's too nice of a guy to do this, but I want to plug one of his videos. He made a video on how to play Machinist. It's absolutely hysterical. It's one of the first ones I saw. I'm going to post it in chat, guys. And the reason why I mentioned this, too, is because there was a lot of questions I saw about Machinist. So I gotta pump Mary's tires real quick.
Do it,
cool, and
please.
He's way too humble to do this, but yeah, check that out.
Very much.
Oh, I got rocked.
Boobot said, nah. Sorry about that, but yeah.
You know what I need to do? I need to just start doing this and just like, all right, let me see.
Oh my God, R9K.
Let's see. Very good.
Yeah, check that out, guys. It's funny as hell and has some good information too. I'll even level.
There you go, buddy.
Really appreciate that.
All right.
Check him out.
Of course. Check him out. It's extremely funny. And so let's get into some of these troll questions real quick. Teddy, Final Fantasy XIV is Frosty School for gifted youngsters accepting applications. Yes. Unfortunately, I only have Reach and Exodus right now. But if you guys want to join my school for gifted youngsters, just message me and I'll create a link shell and you'll be the first person to be in it. And I'll let you know what you need to do in the game. Yeah. So, all right. So let's go into the next question here. Army Sturs, does Suit Black Die really give you +3 DPS as a Dark Knight when you have all of your gear tied?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
At least +3% cool factor.
Yeah.
If nothing else. Dangerous Box wants to know if I like waffles or pancakes. I guess it depends on the day. They're both really good. I love stacking like 3 pancakes up and just like eating them, like just cutting down the middle and eating 3 bits at a time. It's great. Waffles are cool because they got little things in them that you can fill with syrup.
Yep.
So I mean, I don't have a choice. It's like, if I eat too many waffles like in a row, I'm gonna want pancakes next, right? That's kind of just how it goes for me.
Flip-flop.
Yeah, like a pancake.
Yep.
So let's see. I want to get your guys' opinion on this. He asked me, but I'm going to ask you guys. K-Cos wants to know how OP is Paladin right now.
I just got Paladin actually to 60 a couple of days ago, and I like to run numbers. Honestly, I feel like they're kind of in the same spot. Like my warrior now pushes like 1,000 maybe, in like 210-ish, and my Paladin's like 800, 850. So they're kind of just in the same spot. It's a little bit better, but
Yeah. Okay. MiLo, do you have any opinions on Paladin?
No. I haven't seen a Paladin in 3.2. I heard about him.
I run with a Paladin.
I've read the dusty tomes of Paladin lore, but I've yet to actually see one out in the wild, so I can't tell you.
The reason this question was asked because the person who asked the question is the Paladin for my static group.
Oh, okay. Actually, yeah, to be straight up with you, when I was watching you do Sephiroth Extreme last night was the first time I was like, oh, yo, that class exists with the shield. Good shit.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I haven't seen one really at all.
I think that they did a good job balancing all the tanks in this this patch. It feels like an expansion with the level of content that they introduced to us in comparison to what we have been getting. So, I think Paladins are in a really good spot, and it's really a shame if no one takes a Paladin and gives them... Because really, if you can find a good Paladin and then an okay Dark Knight, you probably still want to take that Paladin because they're going to bring a lot more to the group than the okay Dark Knight.
Yeah,
yeah. And you always bring a Warrior. Why don't you?
Yeah.
Warrior and Scholar, man.
Yeah, although Ark's group was for the longest time, and this was before 3.2, ran Paladin, Dark Knight. And they did good. They had an off-tank Paladin. He rolled out some deeps.
Sworda's pretty good.
Yeah.
Fighting the meta is fun, guys. Don't be afraid to do it.
Yeah.
Go out there and just fight it.
I was always a fan of Paladin Warrior combo, to be honest. Yeah, their cooldowns are they're just so spicy and so good. As a healer player, I'm a big fan of those.
Yeah. All right. So another question here. Question for MiLo. Do you ever miss the axe? And that's from Bad Bala.
Oh, God, I do. I really do. I really, really do. It's just... There's something about Warrior in this game. I mean, I enjoy playing Scholar. I do. There's no doubt about it. I do. I have kind of some roots in healing in other games. It's fun. But there's something about just bringing down the... it's hard for me to even control my language. I was about to get vulgar right there, and that's just the Warrior coming through.
Yep.
Right.
Let me just say, like, the animations are just so juicy, and I don't know, man. It's just so fun, and I really liked it. Like, I rated on Warrior in 2.x series. And back then, I thought it was pretty cool, like to switch between Defiance and then just there wasn't Deliverance, so just not Defiance, and managing that way. I thought that the class had a lot to offer. I thought that Inner Beast was a skill that required really good planning and foresight to use properly in fights, and I really do miss it. I really do, and subconsciously maybe that's a part of the reason why I haven't been feeling rating too much. Is I think I missed that a little bit.
Man, just go back at War. If you really want to play Warrior, just play it, man.
I might do that.
Amazing.
if you're and you said the whole issue if you're static and being too much for you, it's an opportunity, man.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we can find. Maybe I can find like a really casual group and just play Warrior again. That might be fun.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I mean, I love Warrior. I love playing it in 2.x. I thought it was amazing, especially since it was like not as favored as Paladin was for tanking back then. And man, I had so much fun running it, and solo tanking with it was great too. And people were like, "Oh, why are you playing a Warrior? This doesn't make." I was like, "Because I'm badass, right?"
Yep.
And it was fun. And then it really exploded with this expansion. The Warrior fan base went insane. And I think it kind of mild out with this recent patch. People aren't as excited.
I wonder about that. I wonder how people are going to take that.
And so some people have taken it kind of negatively, but I think people who like the tank are fine with it. So, Mary, you're fine with it?
Yeah, I miss being a powerhouse and just destroying things, but it's still awesome.
Yeah.
It still feels great.
All right. Well, I think that's good for the questions, guys. We've answered a lot of questions. This was a pretty good question segment. Sorry if we missed anybody there, but I think we pretty much got everyone except for a couple of the late questions that came in there. So I want to do my quick closing statements here. I want to give a shout out to especially our wonderful guest here today, MiLo. Man, it has been a trip to see you come back. I hope we get to see you so much more. But, if life takes you away and you're like, I got to go away for a couple of months, that's just how it is. I understand. But, you know.
I'm going to try and be around. I really, it was this past month and a half or so where I was completely gone. It really, it's a long story, but essentially the past 2 years of my life have been kind of leading up to this. And due to streaming, honestly, I have neglected a lot of things in my personal life that I need to take care of just because I enjoy streaming so much. But it got to a point where I really had to take a step back and focus on my own priorities for a bit. And now that those things are generally taken care of, I think I'll be able to be streaming more. And also, hopefully, I think without such a rigorous rating schedule, I'll be able to just enjoy the game more and be able to just relax and have fun. And so I'm really looking forward to doing that, and just really amazed that anyone still stops by and hangs out, since I have this tendency to just disappear at times. But yeah, thank you.
You always have a home here. Don't worry about it, man.
Thank you.
I'm gonna make sure I put a shout out there. Moobot's gonna help you out here. There we go. That's how you do your Twitch name, right? Am I messing that up?
That looks correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Mary, man, I appreciate you coming on the show. I know you've never been on a show before, and you're like, holy crap, if I go on this show, it could go horribly wrong, and this might be the worst decision of my life. But I'm glad you came on, and it's been awesome having you on, man. You're a really, really friendly and funny guy. I definitely like your videos. MiLo loves your videos, too. You can
I
see
really
it,
do.
Man. So, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No, you.
Oh, okay. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show and being a part of this discussion. I hope we can get you on here more. So, real quick, for people who don't know, because there might be some people here that don't know, you've gotten into streaming recently. I'm going to do a shout out for you as well here. Tell people kind of what you're doing with videos with Final Fantasy 14.
So I am essentially a machinima maker. So I make machinima shorts. I have a series called Mary Shorts, where it's just kind of like funny stories that kind of like take place in, AORs, and I voice act them. I have my friends voice act them. In fact, you two, if you ever want to be in one of my shorts,
okay,
Hit
me up, man.
I love having more voice actors. But so I do, those shorts, and then I do another series called How To, where it's like How To Dark Knight, How To Warrior, How To Machinist, where I basically just kind of like will take all of the stereotypes and jokes about a job and just kind of mash it into a video, and like, this is how you play this job based on the stereotypes. And so I just kind of make funny videos, and then I stream. So
no, that's awesome.
That's about it.
That's good. And also plug your YouTube channel. I don't know if you have it there. Let me do a permit on you so you can definitely go in there and plug it. There we go. Make sure people have access to your YouTube channel there.
Yeah, if there's ever an upcoming script where you need two nameless thugs, to
I
do
would
some
love
voice
to
work,
be a nameless
you know where to
thug.
find us.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Two knuckleheads.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And also, I would like it if you guys do whatever shout-outs you want to do. MiLo, do you have any shout-outs to anybody?
Really sort of same as always. I mean, shout out to you and Kerr for putting this show together. It's really awesome, and I just am I'm so amazed how you guys have been able to maintain 52 editions of this show. I know the level of work and preparation that goes into it, and I think it's really fantastic. And of course, I'm really honored to have been a guest a couple of times. Other than that, just just a big thank you to everyone who has stopped by the stream over the last 2 or so years. That means a lot to me. It really does. And I look forward to seeing everyone more in the future. And of course, I have to give, I don't do this enough, but I really have to give a shout out to the Dream Network, of founded in Final Fantasy XIV. They, since I've been so spotty and so off the grid for a while, I'm not as involved, but those people really helped me out a lot. They really, really went out of their way to help me and all the people that I've met through Twitch. So would like to thank them, and that's all. Just want to say, and lastly, just a big shout out to everyone who's here tonight. Everyone in the Final Fantasy XIV community on Twitch is just really amazing. I've spent some time over the past couple months watching games on Twitch, just the popular ones like Hearthstone, Counter-Strike, Dota, and those communities are just missing something that I think this has, which is a legitimate sense of community. Where people actually know one another.
People know each other, I mean, you go to other streams, you recognize the names very easily.
That's a really important and beautiful thing. So, shouts out to everyone in the community, man. You guys are beautiful, and let's keep it going here.
Yeah, of course, MiLo, thank you for all that, too. And definitely shout out to Dream Network. They've been awesome in the Final Fantasy XIV community and have helped out a lot. So, Mary, do you have any shout-outs?
Well, first and foremost, you guys, thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute blast. I was so excited when you asked me, thank you so much for having me.
I love it when people say they're excited about something that I do. It makes me feel special.
Absolutely. Thank you, absolutely. Like, this is so cool, being able to talk with other, successful Final Fantasy XIV players who really love the community and love the game and love what they do. Like, it's such an honor. So thank you for that. Everybody else here watching, thanks for, tuning in. Thanks for making me feel very welcome. And then other 14 streamers, Pukajitsu.
Yeah.
Thank you, man, for helping me with getting my feet on the ground with the streaming thing. Mr. Happy and MTQ, all the streamers. As MiLo said, the Final Fantasy XIV streaming community is absolutely incredible. You guys are all amazing, and
yeah. All right. I also want to definitely thank all the people who are watching today. You guys have definitely been a big part of me wanting to do the show, and your support has left me into a very emotional state, which you guys found out if you watched the end of MogTalk 50. And I appreciate everyone for everything that you have done to help the show out. Blizana, thank you very much for the artwork, for the overlay, and making this a little bit easier for me. Kerr, thank you so much for helping out in the chat. You're always a godsend to have you in the chat and getting these questions so we can make sure that we're actually talking to you guys as we're doing the show. And Tari, thank you very much for the opening music theme that you've given us. I do want to say next week, I was planning not to do MogTalk. I was going to have to not do it because of work, and I was going to be doing a lot of extra work next weekend. But things have changed, and it's completely possible that I will be here next week doing a MogTalk, and I'm not sure, again, what it will exactly be on, because there's a lot of topics that are still being discussed, and we're going to know a lot more about 3.2, I think, next week, that we might need to discuss and dive into as things develop, especially the rating scene, and see how that works out next week. But if you guys want to keep up to date with what I'm going to be doing for next week on the topics, feel free to follow me on Twitter, which I think is Frosty FFXIV, and I think it's somewhere down in the subject down there. If you guys want, I'll post on there any kind of updates I have coming up for this next show. As tradition, I'm going to be ending the show, and I would like you guys to actually look at who's streaming right now and say who you would think should have a host.
Who we got?
Let's see.
There's a good handful of people streaming at the moment.
What do you normally do? Do you normally host people with like small channels, or
small channels is something that I like to do, but I don't also like taking huge risks, because there's a lot of times I host these small channels and like no one's there. They're just streaming because they just click the stream button on their PlayStation 4 and they're not really doing anything.
That's true.
But there's some people out there who are actually trying to get more viewers, and if you know of someone out there, you're like, hey, this is someone I know is streaming and trying to get in streaming, then that would be a good selection as well. Or it could be just someone who is you definitely thinks deserve it.
Anyone in chat got ideas?
Let's see. Looking through this list, there's a lot of names I have never seen before streaming. Let's see. I think one of the ones that is most obvious to me, actually, some of these people aren't playing Final Fantasy. That's why I'm not seeing them. I thought they're people in Final Fantasy. So, I mean, I see Sly streaming.
Yep, I saw that too.
He's in there. He's always streaming, man. Like,
it's always streaming.
25 hours a day. I don't know how he does it. He's insane.
Okay, so Dens has a recommendation though. He's actually recommending someone who has a camera, no audience, and learning to play Dragoon.
Ooh.
Let's check this guy out. Let's see, Waffle Stomp. Alright. It looks like he's being interactive, and he has three total followers.
Ooh.
Let's see if he's actually... I see
this guy looks pretty cool.
You want to host him?
Seems pretty good.
Alright, let's do that.
Guys.
Make his day.
Let's do it. Why not? So
yeah, why not, man?
We're going to host this guy, Waffle Stomp. And when you guys go over there, I don't really have I probably need to build more in my community when I do stuff. And I have like things like when I raid people or something. And the one that we have done was we spammed with question marks last time.
Wow.
That was pretty good. Although this guy's trying to learn things, he's probably new to streaming. I think that would be kind of mean to spam question marks. And say, I was going to do the Sprout thing where they're like, hey guys, and everyone says, hi, hello, how can I help you, and everything. Yeah, I think that going to him would be, I don't know, you guys have any ideas?
Dragoon Hype?
Dragoon Hype? Alright, yeah, do Dragoon Hype. So everyone that goes in there, say Dragoon Hype.
Yeah, that's good.
Dragoon Hype. Dragoon Hype.
He's going to get pumped up, okay.
So let's pump him up, guys. Let's give him some energy. Let's say Dragoon Hype when you go in there. And I'm going to go ahead and host him right now. I appreciate any of you guys who participated in it. I'll see you guys next week, and I hope you all have a wonderful evening. I'll be streaming tomorrow probably, but it won't be MogTalk. It'll be just regular Rage streaming. Anyways, guys, have a wonderful evening, and until next time, so everyone do your awkward waving. MiLo, awkward waving. Come on. There we go. Bye, guys.
See you later.
Oh, that's not the right screen, but that's okay.